Hello and good evening. Welcome to week 3 of the NRL's third season. My name is Toon, and joining me, as always, are my esteemed broadcast colleagues and overall terrific guys, Slow-Mo and Leo. Gentlemen, we are at the halfway point for this season. How are we feeling about what we've seen so far and what we're going to see tonight? Let's start with you, Slow-Mo.
Yeah, thank you so much, Toon. We have seen some incredible racing, both from the A and the B divisions. And for those of you guys watching Friday and Saturday, both days, really, really excellent racing up to this point. And I do not expect that to change. We're going to see some awesome car track combinations tonight and tomorrow. So there is so much still in store with the NRL Season 3. What about you, Leo?
Oh man, I totally agree with you, Slow-Mo and Tune. It has been an incredible season so far, and just in the halfway point, so much has happened, so much great racing, side by side. I can't wait to see what tonight does, and I'm super excited.
I couldn't agree more. I'm excited to see what tonight has in store for us as well. But before we get into that, let's go and take a look at the classified driver standings for both divisions B and A respectively. So after a week of intense racing and in the wake of a monumental race last week, the standings for Division B are as follows. In P1, we have PHG Speedy Lee with a grand total of 41 points. Trailing very close behind him with a deficit of 2 is PHG Papa, the winner of Division B's race last week. Rounding out our top 3, only trailing by 1 point, is Purple Nurple 88. Moving on down the order, we've got Skeletor 698 in P4, Jay Smith rounding out our top 5 in a tie with Jay. So it's a Jay versus Jay shootout there. And then we have a tie for P7 with Lewis in Beef Castle. We have Redneck C137 in P9. P10 is solely in the hands of Bells, followed by Marino and Smokes VR6V in a tie for P11, with Jack PHG SVG 15 in P13. And rounding out our grid for the Division B standings is YouTube Average Kurt Games. Moving on over to Division A, which had an insane battle last week. We have the Truth Serum sitting comfortably in P1 with 50 points. In P2, trailing by 10 right now, is VTX Blind Man. Rounding out our top 3 is GSR La Cabra 809. Sitting in P4, we've got Deputy Fishhill, followed by GSR Shaggy Doo rounding out our top 5, with a tie for P6 between Talent and Gran Turismo, with another tie right under them for P8 with Sugar Shovels and Corridor 71. Moving on down to P10 is MK, followed by Raider in P11, Boogity Boogity in P12, with P13 belonging to Root, Fernando Button in P14, Sparky in P15, P16 belonging to Sweet Lou Sanis, and then rounding out the Division A is VTX Chippy in P17. Let's go and see what our drivers for the first heat of Division A will be up against. Our drivers are at the illustrious Le Mans for 7 laps in the Aston Martin Valkyrie 2021 on the sports soft and sports medium tires with the sports mediums required. It is a grid start with a false start check and a 10-minute qualifier with a 9 times tire wear rate, 4 times fuel rate, and there's also heavy damage, I believe. Yep, heavy damage right there. So this is going to be a very interesting race because Le Mans is a track that does have the possibility for rain, and 7 laps. This is going to be a bit of a long haul. I don't know, Slow-Mo, what do you think?
Yeah, I think these drivers have their work cut out for them today. That car is a lot of fun to drive. The tires can sometimes be a little tricky with it, so I don't know that these guys are going to be able to top these cars all the way out without having to hit those brakes kind of early. We're going to have to wait and see how they treat that. Leo, what are your thoughts?
Exactly what you were saying. I have done a little practice with these guys around here. This car is incredibly fast, and it can get up into the top end of its power band with that overtake button that it has, which is electronically boosted. The only problem is stopping the vehicle due to its lack of traction with the sports soft and sports mediums. That is something I could not control at all. So kudos to these guys for at least getting it around the track from what I saw.
Yeah, I tried it as well, and that was a tricky one. But moving on over to the points totals, it's time we hand it on over to Slow-Mo to give you all the details. Slow-Mo, take it away.
Thank you, Toon. As you can see here, we've got our points that are going to be awarded to the drivers. It's always going to be based on their total race time here. So the fastest driver will get that 24 points, and then it's going to decrease down from there. Points have increased this week, again, over last week. In addition to those points that the drivers can earn, they have these additional bonus points here on the right-hand side by taking either the sought-after the podium spots that we have here, or putting up one of the fastest lap times in their race. This week is an elimination week, so you're going to see these drivers really trying to stack up as many cumulative points as they possibly can to get them through this first elimination.
Thank you, Slow-Mo. Don't know what we would do without you. Now let's move on over to the driver lineup for Heat 1 of 2 for this beautiful car and track combination. And we have Provisional, VTX Blindman GT, Gran Turismo, GSR Shaggy Doo, Talon, Root, Fernando Button, Sparky, and MK. And listed under their names, you will see the racing teams that they are affiliated with. And you can also see their YouTube and or Twitch information should it be applicable. So you can go and find them there either during the race or after the race is concluded. Gentlemen, I'm honestly feeling really excited for this Division A race just because of the fact that it's my favorite circuit and it's my favorite manufacturer. Like, this is going to be a really fun one for me to commentate. What about you guys? You guys feeling excited for this one?
100%, Toon. I mean, it's like the big time for announcing racing, right? You get to announce a race at Le Mans. So I couldn't tell you how excited I am. It's still something I'm trying to get my hands around here. But as we see the drivers kind of come out and get their outlaps going, we're going to see a little bit of strategy here too. You know, like as Leo and I both mentioned about the tire combinations. They're required to run the sports medium. So, who's starting on mediums, who's starting on the soft, how quick do they change, how long do they run the lap, do they get it with a one-stopper? A lot of questions we're going to have to answer before tonight race is over.
Oh, agreed. And for this outlap, we will be taking a look at Grove Street Racing's own Shaggy Doo. His current standing is in P5 for Division A Friday with a total of 32 points. So Shaggy's sitting pretty comfortably right now for Division A as he goes through Tetraru and onto the Mulsanne Straight. So there's the chicanes at first when we saw this, I thought was going to be like a huge problem for the brakes. But the more I tried to fiddle with the track, the more I saw people. It's definitely going to be towards Mulsanne Kink and more Mulsanne Corner. And I believe, I can't remember how many stops some people might have to go depending on if they run those sports for this race, because I know you also won't be able to just do a no-stopper on this if I'm remembering correctly. But Leo, you might have some more insight into that than I will. And you might also, actually you should also have some pretty good insight into this car as well, because you put quite a bit of time into it for practice.
Yeah, I definitely looked at what this car was about, the actual physical car in real life, and done quite a few practice laps around here with these guys. I could see wanting to start on the softs for the qualifier, but I think you'd only get maybe a lap or two before you start noticing the detriment that they have to your times. This car heavily depends on stopping all the horsepower, which if I remember correctly is about 1,500 horsepower in this car with an electronic booster, like I said earlier. So the tires play a huge factor into that on getting your braking points down, and goodness, if you go off in that sand, it's game over there.
Oh yeah, as we take a look at Masquala, who is just now coming through the Porsche curves into the Corvette curves, and he is flying through this outlap. Ran a little wide, but hey, Oh, never mind. That was definitely less than snow. That's going to cost him on the hot lap going into the pits now. Actually, that's a bold strategy going into the pits. But let's see what the True Serum's looking like right now. Coming through the Porsche curves into the Corvette curves, looking nice and neat, keeping everything in tip-top fashion. As we see the True Serum coming into the Ford chicanes, looking for a very tight line to get a nice run through this last one. The exit from this one's pretty pivotal. And coming across the line with an outlap of 349, the True Serum, part of Team Sector 7 Racing, is our P1 runner right now for Friday's Division A with a grand total of 50 points. Let's see how he does coming through Dunlop curves.
You know, Dune, I'm noticing something, that all the drivers on this first outlap are not pushing this car to its full limit. Most of them are only doing half throttle. I wonder if they're trying to save them tires to get on that hot lap.
No, that is actually a really good perspective. I'm looking at True Serum's throttle right now. Oh, he's hammered on that overtake now. Yeah, it's definitely go time. Luckily, they've got a few minutes of qualifying to make up for, a less than stellar qualifying. As we see him come down the Mulsanne straight, shifting up into 7th. Wow, yeah, he is flying. I wonder what that break point's going to be. Oh, wow, that is really early by comparison to the other cars. Coming through Daytona, looking very nice and neat. Ooh, looks like he got a little squirrely, but luckily traction control was right there for him and back onto the overtake. Now, slow-mo, I can't remember. Isn't Mulsanne one of the longest straights in the game? Like, not special, like taking the special stage Route X out of the question?
Toon, that's a really good question. I know that it's definitely up there, obviously, with the chicanes in it. It shortens it up a little bit, but, it takes something like, Deep Forest Raceway, that one's okay. Or maybe even Crown Mountain, that's another long straight. So I don't know, there's a couple that are pretty close, but taking chicanes out, I think there's no question.
All right, as we see the True Serum coming towards Mulsanne Kink in the Mulsanne corner. Getting a nice braking line for that. Those back tires are already showing some wear. Wow, that tire wear is no joke on those sport softs. I can't even imagine what it would be like on the racing tires. But he is unfazed and flying right now.
Yeah, Toon, as I'm going through the field, I'm seeing, a couple people. Fernando looks like he incurred a half second. Shaggy's dealing with a half second. And Kay's running within a half second. So, keeping this car on track, I believe, is going to be a challenge for the
Oh, I couldn't agree more. And I think one of the problem areas is going to be Indianapolis, where we just saw the True Serum leave as he comes into Arnage. If you outbrake yourself by even a split second, there's a good chance either you're going to deal with some really dirty tires or you're going to be dealing with a half-second penalty, or you might get both for insult to injury. And it looks like the sun is already starting to set, or it might be coming up. I'm not sure. I'm getting word from production that it is setting as we see the True Serum coming in through the Porsche curves. Now, this is going to be a real interesting race for those drivers because they'll have a day and night cycle going. It's only lap 2 and the sun's coming down. So I think it might be we start at the day and have a start of the race be at night, and then we'll end with more than likely the sun coming up as the True Serum is coming in through the Ford chicanes through the first. Ooh, a little squirrely, but was able to hold on to it. Very well played. Avoiding the sausages on the right and coming across the line to set a pace of a 334, 457. That's not a bad lap whatsoever. Definitely not one to scoff at.
No, Leo, I was going to ask you, one thing Toon mentioned was, kind of about the weather change, or not the weather, the time of day change that we're going to see here. With that, how big of an impact do you expect that to play on these tire temperatures for the drivers?
I believe it might actually play a pretty significant role. Because you got to think, once the track temperatures start coming down, the tires don't have enough heat in them to produce grip, and this thing needs all the grip that it can have just to get going and or stop. So once it starts becoming nighttime, depending on how much that temperature drops, you don't have the sun to beat down on the asphalt there or the street. because this is in a street. It can greatly reduce the traction by quite a bit. The other thing that can also do that as well is if there is rain. I don't see any on the radar at the moment, but who knows during the race.
Oh yeah, anything can and will happen. And speaking of anything happening, we've got Gran Turismo currently holding the fastest lap for the race right now, or at least for qualifying, I should say, with a 3:32.089. That's an impressive time. He definitely put some effort into this, and it is showing as he is flying onto that overtake. Oh nope, eased off. Also looks like Gran Turismo's hybrid system is completely empty. So, Leo, you might, or you and Slow-Mo both might know this better than I am. Also, Gran Turismo is a free agent sitting in P6 right now for Saturday Division A with a total of 28 points, and you can find him on YouTube at Gran Turismo 33. Well, that sun is really coming down. But my question for you guys is, with the hybrid system, how do you efficiently charge that up? We'll start with you, Leo.
So like in last season with the Porsche 919 that we had to race around the Death Chicken, or Death Chicane, however you want to pronounce it, usually you would kind of give it some gas and brake at the same time as you were going around the corner to kind of charge that up. What that does essentially is there's an electric motor on board with the vehicle that can help generate more power for the engine, either being connected to the drive axles and or to the actual engine itself, to kind of help give it a boost to get going. That does play a pretty big factor, because then you're relying more on that electric power instead of the fuel in the car. So it can produce a little bit of a fuel saver, if you will.
Okay. So essentially, when you're hard in the brakes, you also want to have a teensy bit of throttle to kind of balance it out?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
Not
Slow-Mo, how familiar are you with the hybrid systems that you normally see in the Group 1 cars?
Just a little bit. I really do like the Group 1 cars. They're a lot of fun to drive. As far as my experience with the hybrid systems go, a lot of that one of the terminologies you'll hear a lot of people use is trail braking. Holding on that brake a little bit longer, even though you might not be keeping the full pressure on the brake as you go through the turn, it'll help you maintain your traction and also get over to the throttle a little quicker. So sometimes that can help you kind of extend that charging time by that trail braking to a point.
Okay. Now, as we come and take a look at Talon coming in for the final lap of our qualifying session, he did set a purple sector. Talon is a free agent, currently sitting in P6 for the Friday's Division A heats. And flying through those portuguese, ooh, that might have cost him a little bit, because that is exuberant. And using all of the curbing to his advantage, well, ooh, a half second. But, it doesn't count. It cost him pole. That is heartbreaking to see.
Dude, you know who else was purple? MK was right behind him, who was showing purple, and there you go. Put him right up to the top. He ended up getting through there without a penalty. So, like you said, that did cost him pole, that one penalty.
That's true. Now let's go and take a look at the classified results for our qualifying session. So starting in pole will be MK with a fastest lap of 3:31.396. Coming down in P2 will be Gran Turismo. Rounding out our top three for the starting grid will be GSR Shaggy Doo, followed by S7R Detruserum, Root, Fernando Button, and Talon. Actually, if I'm looking at this right, Talon didn't even set a qualifying time just because of that half-second penalty. But I think all the other drivers should be on their toes, because if he was about to set a 3:31, he's definitely got the speed and the pace in him. So we might see him fly up through the standings. What about you, Slow-Mo?
Yeah, I think my dark horse in this race just took the pole position. I think MK's been putting in a lot of work, and he's ready for this week. So, at this point, they're going to have to catch him. He's certainly not going to let anybody by. But one mistake, one little penalty, and we saw how easy those are to incur, is going to change the course of this race.
Oh, without a doubt. What about you, Leo? Do you think we'll see quite a bit of a shakeup? Do you think some people might be a little bit too aggressive on the throttle and use their hybrid system and their overtakes faster than they should?
Yeah, I do believe that. Because you're gonna hopefully they don't get tunnel vision and just try to chase down another person and completely forget their braking points, their acceleration points. Um, for a driver pick, maybe I'm gonna go with Root because I'm rooting for him.
So Root's going to be your dark horse for this one?
Yes, it is.
All
We
right.
are Root.
Well, we will see how this plays out as we are about to get the actual race underway for the first split of our Division A heats for this evening.
Lucky for these guys, they don't have to run to their car before they start.
Oh, could you imagine if the game actually had a Le Mans start option?
Ooh, I'd have to take
Anyway,
a breather beforehand.
yeah. All speculation aside, this is going to be a very, very close race, an intense race, and this is going to be a dream come true to commentate as they are already waiting for the lights to turn off. Nobody's jumping the line, and they are off, and the overtakes are already flashing. They're wanting as great of a start as they can get as we see some side-by-side right now with MK and Gran Turismo coming into the Dunlop curves.
Yeah, I think Talon got the best start out of that. He gained probably 3 or 4 positions right off the starting grid and moved himself up to 4th already.
Oh yeah, it looks like GSR Shaggy Doo is also taking P2 for the moment with MK trying to pull away as fast as possible. Coming in through the S's, Gran Turismo staying very close behind Shaggy Doo, but he can't breathe too easy because Talon's also right in tow as they fly on up through Tetra Rouge. Are they going to keep it within the lines? Looks like Shaggy Doo ran just a teensy bit wide, but will he incur a penalty for it? Only time will tell as they dart down the Mulsanne straight. I'm kind of debating which is going to be more pivotal for these drivers, the overtake, the slipstream, or the hybrid system. There's a lot of speed boost options available in this car. It's like Gran Turismo is staying well within a safe distance of GSR Shaggy Doo as they come into Daytona, and it is a nice little train of cars we see. And Gran Turismo also has quite the nice livery on that car as well. A little bit of a shell oil livery, I believe. And we've got Talon here staying very close behind. Actually has a 2-second gap between himself and Root, so this field's already starting to spread out just a teensy bit. It looks like Gran Turismo is ever so slightly pulling away from Talon as Talon accidentally extends it too far inside into the Michelin chicane. Will he be able to catch up? Only time will tell because we're coming towards the tail end of the Mulsanne straight into the Mulsanne kink. And it looks like that time gap is just now slowly starting to chip away. And it looks like Talon's not even using the overtake at the moment, so good on him. Moving on down back, we're going to go take a look at the True Serum, who is currently at the back of the pack coming into the Mulsanne corner. Taking it nice and neatly out. Let's see if he can close that gap between himself and Fernando Button, but Fernando Button is just peeling away right now. I think the
one
True
thing to
Serum
keep
might
in
have an
mind,
idea about.
Yeah, True Serum started on mediums along with Talon and Root, so everybody else in the field started on soft.
Oh, I completely forgot about that. Thank you, Slow-Mo. I am so glad you're here. As we see the True Serum coming down into Indianapolis, taking a nice braking line. Just on the track limits. That was very well done. Let's see how he does coming out of Arnage. A little understeery, but able to get flying. That was a good exit from the True Serum. And I think they'll also have to be mindful of that slipstream coming into the Porsche curves because on those mediums, I don't think they're going to be able to hold it flat. What about you, Leo?
I mean, yes, I probably would have done the same if I would have started towards the rear. I would have stayed on the mediums myself, just for the simple fact I could have stayed out longer. Because as we saw in qualifying, them softs were weared out very quickly. So in order to keep going and kind of catch these guys off guard that are in the front, that's what I would have done. And also if I was starting more towards the front of the field, I would have done the same as these guys that are booking it down the front stretch here.
All right. And it looks like MK's got himself a pretty decent lead from Shaggy Doo as they come through the Dunlop curve. And actually, it looks like that gap. Oh, no, looking at that delta, it is slightly going up and slightly going. It's going to be a game of cat and mouse for P1, depending on how long these guys can stay in each other's slip as they are coming up into Tetra Rouge. Will the slipstream play a factor for Shaggy Doo and Gran Turismo? Does not look like it. Shaggy kept it nice and tidy and is now trying to play catch-up to Mass Koala. Luckily, actually, I don't know if he's got, if he's still in the slip range. Oh, wait, nope, that thing is dropping. Yeah, he is definitely in there.
Fernando just got a position on Root. Looks like Root may have lost a little bit of control, done a little slipping and sliding, and Fernando said, I will take that P5, thank you very much. Stepped right up into that position.
Well, oh, Root has a 2.5 penalty. I wonder how he got that.
It looks like we just missed the replay, but ultimately that 2.5 was him sliding off track.
Root just went off again, unfortunately.
Oh, did he really? That's tough.
Ooh, it is not Root's race, but there's still tons of time left, and anything can and anything will happen in this league. As we see, Fernando is now sitting comfortably in P5, and if you really think about it, when pits come into play, Fernando might actually wind up in first place, while all of the front runners go into the pits to change onto another set of tires. As we see Fernando taking a nice exit out of the Michelin chicane onto the Mulsanne cake, looking nice and neat. Fernando Button is a part of Concrete Supply of Illinois and is currently sitting in P14 for our Division A Friday heats with a total of 11 points. You can find him on YouTube at ShakyMark4969, and he is coming through Mulsanne corner and trying to get a excellent run out. That was well done.
That was very tidy, yeah.
And Fernando's got quite a bit of hybrid on him too, so that hybrid and the overtake are having him just peel away from everyone. That gap between himself and the True Serum is at 1.25 seconds, and it looks like he's still got about 8.25 seconds of a gap between himself and Talon as they come into Indianapolis. It seems Root is about to be taking his penalty in just a moment. See how the True Serum fares coming through Arnage. Ooh, 2x2. Ooh, nice line. Looks like he saw the door left open by Fernando running wide and was able to take P5 back for himself. I think we're going to have to keep at least one eye on these two because we might see some battling going on. As the sun is...
Speaking of battling, I think Shaggy's giving a look at the P1 here. He's creeping up on MK through the Porsche curves, coming into the Corvette curves. And they're just about to cross the finish line, but Shaggy's got a pretty good and they're both in the pits actually, so you got MK and Shaggy who were going to pit. I was curious how long some of these guys were going to run the softs, and we all know, you know, Shaggy can be unpredictable at times, so I was really curious if he was going to push it any further than he did.
That is a good point. It looks like Gran Turismo is opting to not go into the pits right now, but instead use that overtake to try and get as much of a gap between himself and MK and Shaggy Doo. So that's actually a really clever strategy. Getting a little squirrely though because of those tires running on the lower end as we see the street lights start to come on. Do we happen to have a graphic for the possible pit strategies? There we go. So some of the possible strategies for this race, these aren't all of them. These are just this is just a rough outline. We can see a 3-lap stint on the mediums and two 2-lap stints on the softs. We can see a double stint on medium tires for 3 laps with a finishing lap on the softs. Or we could see something along the lines of 4 laps on the mediums, 3 laps on the softs. This is definitely going to be a game of who thought of a better strategy. As we see,
MK came out of the pits and ended up spinning into the wall. Boy, that's unfortunate. He was really in a good position. He's got heavy damage on the front of the vehicle now. Let's see if we can have a look.
All right, MK is coming in through Dunlop curve. Oh yeah, through the S's. My apologies. Yep, just lost it right there. Oh,
yeah, he put softs on it for his second stint. So you know, I guess he just hadn't got those tires broke in down. You know, got him up to a good temperature and had trouble controlling the vehicle.
Oh yeah, and very well done by Shaggy. And very well done by Shaggy for avoiding utter catastrophe, because if he had let his mind wander for just a split second, it would have been those two sitting in possibly the scrapyard for a little bit. You know, it looks like Talon is now starting to close that gap between himself and Dan Turismo. Talon is on the mediums with the back. Actually, those back tires still have a good amount of life on them. So I think we might see Talon sitting as the front runner for the race for a little bit if he keeps up this. How's everything looking over on your end, Leo?
It's looking pretty good. Unfortunately, Fernando has picked up a half-second penalty, probably for track violation. Probably got a little squirrely. His tires are on the rear are not looking so happy. So, other than that, everybody's been running pretty good lines. I've noticed Dan has no tires on the rear, essentially. Yep, they're gone. And he is having to slow way down just to get going. And it looks like the back end is just going left, right. He's going to have to play it safe here. But Talon is definitely going to catch up to him very quickly with no time.
All right, thank you, Leo. Also, as we're cycling through the drivers here, Fernando has spun coming out of Arnage. As we cycle through the drivers, I'm also seeing a lot of them are running traction control. Do you think that's because just how unpredictable these sports tires can be with the car of this power?
I believe so, yes, Toon. I mean, granted, from the little bit of research that I have done on this car, this thing has no steel parts on it. No steel, no aluminum, all carbon fiber, essentially. So it's very lightweight, with a very powerful V12, 6.5 liter Cosworth engine. So if anybody knows what it's a Cosworth. So they have maxed the power out of this thing, and then you add that hybrid system on top of it. If you don't have we don't have racing tires, but we are pushing these sports tires to the absolute limit of traction. So you would need the traction control just to keep this thing going in a straight line.
Right, and it looks like Dan Turismo, Talon, et al., barring MK, are all going into the pits for a tire change. And it looks like it looks like they're having to grab fuel too. So I thought this might have been a race just for tire concerns, but it seems fuel might be of higher importance for these guys. And it looks like Shaggy has now a 8-second and climbing gap between himself and P2 in Dan Turismo. Masqual has gotten into the pits as well. It's interesting to see a lot of these lap deltas between the drivers is actually increasing now, even though some of them were quite close when they went into the pits. Do you think some may have just overfilled on fuel, or maybe somebody opted to not change tires? I know the entrance into the pit lane for this circuit is quite long, because even when you go through that chicane, it's still a few seconds before your car is completely in the box. And Dan Turismo is coming through to Daytona on a fresh set of mediums, holding it very nicely. And these tires are going to be ice cold. It is pitch black outside, and those are some fresh rubber. So thank goodness he had the wherewithal to throw on the traction control. And it looks like the active stability management too, keeping everything in working order. See how he adjusts his braking zone coming into the Michelin chicane for the 4th time. Keeping an good amount of curb usage on the left. A little squirrely on the exit, but looks like nothing really to worry about. So yeah, Dan Turismo is going to be holding on to P2 for quite some time, and is going to be in the hunt for P1, which is currently held by Shaggy Doo. But it looks like Talon, I see his headlights over there in the back. He might be trying to throw himself into the mix within the next lap or two. Who's also on the mediums, but also has about a third of the hybrid system, so that's going to give him better straight line speed. Plus, he has the overtake. I think, that curve system in these cars is going to be a pivotal factor in this, especially when it comes to closing gaps, because it's just starting to chip away at this rate.
Oh, we got a battle for P5 and P6. Roos trying to overtake Fernando right now. I've been watching him for a good minute. He's finally closed the gap, got around him. See if he can make the move stick.
Let's see, they were too wide coming into Arnage. Looks like Fernando ran just a teensy bit wide, has a stick of dirt on the tires, but looks like nothing really to worry about for Fernando. As long as he can stay in that slip, he might have to use all of that hybrid that he can just to kind of stay close. And it seems he's going to be sitting comfortably in P6. And I'm getting word that Fernando is on mediums while Root is on soft. So I think Fernando's going to be able to stay with Root for a minute, but it won't be for long. Ooh, those tires are squealing. Coming in. Oh, cutting the grass.
Tune, you're 100% right.
Oh, God.
Those tires are where it's at. I mean, if you look at the field right now, we've got basically 4 drivers on mediums. So you've got Dan, Shaggy, Talon, and then Fernando are all on mediums, and the rest of the field's on soft. So it's kind of funny to watch them flip-flop from mediums to soft. Shaggy Doo is actually back in the pits. I guess he ran his requirement on the mediums and switching them out. I'm not sure. Let's see.
Only time will tell. Looks like Talon will take P2 for the moment, and Gran Turismo is actually starting to lose some ground to Talon, who's rapidly catching up. But that was a lot of curb usage in Dunlop Curve. So that, actually, never mind. Yeah, no penalty. That was masterfully done. Coming in through the S's, Talon is holding it nice and firm. Getting a nice run in for Tetra Rouge on the mediums. Having a lift to get the rotation in and hammering down on that throttle for the Mulsanne straight. That is just masterful work. This is what practice affords you. It helps you get these things into a routine and muscle memory.
Yeah, tune in as we watch him accelerate down the Mulsanne, hitting almost 220 miles an hour. That's just incredible. And early breaking point. Don't forget he's on the medium. So, Leo, what was the difference in the medium and the soft compounds as far as your breaking point? Was it 100 yards or 100 meters, or what? Was it significant enough to make a huge difference?
I found actually it was. I'd say I'd have to, on the mediums, I'd have to back it up about 200 meters or so, maybe, depending on how fast of the corner entry. The softs are definitely where it's at, but with the high tire wear rate, it kind of makes it almost impossible to run the whole race. So, yeah, you do have to back it up quite a bit just to get this thing to stop.
Understandable. And it looks like as we move on over to Shaggy, he is back on the sauce with a decent chunk of hybrid, so those gaps might be closing. He's got just under 4 seconds of a gap to close between himself and Gran Turismo, but also has a 21.25 second. That is a monumental lead over P5 en route. Shaggy's definitely going to be fighting his way up for these last 2 laps of the race, and it's going to be very exhilarating to see. To see him flying, just shifting those gears up, using the overtake where possible. Now, how many laps can you use? Can you get out of the overtake just by going through the Mulsanne itself, Leo?
Toon, I didn't actually test that, unfortunately, and I apologize. I probably would say maybe just going through the Mulsanne straight, correct?
Yeah.
I'd maybe say, like, if you were just only using it there, probably like 2 laps, I would think.
Well, that would explain why they are being a little conservative, only primarily using it on corner exit or just to close a gap. So that's very wise thinking from our drivers as we see Shaggy getting ready to approach the Porsche curves.
And Toon, as I look through the top 4 drivers, it looks like the pit stops for at least those guys are done. They all have pretty healthy tires. I just can't imagine here in the next 3 laps we're going to see either any of these 4 drivers come back into the pits.
No, I don't think so either. What are the tires looking like right now for all of our competitors?
Yeah, so our leader, Gran Turismo, he's running mediums at the moment. Talon is in second place running mediums. Then you've got the True Serum, who's in third running softs. And Shaggy Doo in fourth place, also running softs. It looks like Shaggy Doo has closed quite a bit of ground on the True Serum, is just over a second at this point. So maybe we see a position change there. It's hard to say.
That's very insightful. Thank you so much, Slow-Mo. Yeah, as they're coming into Dunlop curves, Shaggy has closed that gap between himself and the True Serum exponentially. And trying to stay in the slip and find a door to be left open, getting quite close to the True Serum. I think Shaggy's ready to say, hey, let me through. I'm trying to race here. As they come into Tetra Rouge, will anyone back out? Nope, it is too wide for Tetra Rouge.
Too wide through there, wow.
That is masterful work from our drivers. And it looks like a flash of lights. I don't think the True Serum's happy about that, but then again, the flashing of the headlights could really mean anything. He might be saying au revoir, see you at the end of the race. It's hard telling. And seems Root has gone into the pits. Looks like
you were talking about all them guys in the front there. I've been keeping an eye on MK. He was 15 seconds behind. He is slowly but fast catching up to Fernando. He's at almost a 6-second deficit now in closing.
Well, that's good to hear that MK was down, but he is most certainly not out at this moment. And it seems True Serum is going to be spending his time catching up to Shaggy, and it's going to be a game of cat and mouse between those two as we jump on over to Talon, who is just under 3.5 seconds behind Gran Turismo at the moment. Gran Turismo, might I add, also has a 1-second penalty, but also has the fastest lap right now with a 3:33.718. I think Talon needs to close that gap just a teensy bit more so he can capitalize on Gran Turismo's penalty when he serves it coming out of Arnage.
Yeah, that's unfortunate for Gran Turismo. He's been really running a great race tonight, very steady, but also very fast and under control. His strategy looked like it was working out, but like I said before the race started, I think a penalty may determine what the winner is, or who the winner is on this. So let's see if Talon can get the pass done when he serves his penalty here.
We got Root that just got up into P6, passing MK like he's standing still.
Ooh. We will take a look at that in a moment. Let's see how Talon comes out of Arnage. A little less than stellar, but I think it will be enough to healthily close that gap as it is coming down rapidly. That acceleration, it might be fast, but when you got a car that's got just a slightly better run out of a corner than you, that acceleration in your car is going to mean nothing. Coming in through the Porsche curves, half throttle, trying to keep it nice and tidy to not incur any unfortunate penalties or wall collision penalties, because that wall over there, it's deceptively closer than you think. A little bit of tire squeal from Talon as the sun is rising here in France. Coming through the Shaggy Doo going off. Shaggy Doo has gone off?
Yes, he has. He got a little squirrely coming real close to that wall, like you were saying.
And went into P4. Let's see what happened. All right, coming in through the Porsche curves. Yeah, got on the curves. It looks like the back of the car just wanted to run out. Luckily, there's still plenty of time for Shaggy to make up that position. True Serum's not too far ahead, so... Yep, as I was saying, the True Serum's definitely not too far ahead. I think Shaggy's going to say thanks for keeping this position warm for me. Oh, there, too wide.
Oh, they got him.
Inside, that was fantastic work, but the car is still a little squirrely. Gran Turismo run wide into Dunlop curve, but is able to save it, fortunately, as we are on the final lap for the first heat of our Division A for this evening.
Love that Subaru livery that Shaggy's running. As we go back to P6 and we're seeing Root here, looks like he's pushing pretty hard. He wants that 5th spot, make no mistake about it. Fernando has got a target on his back. So it looks like we're shaping up for a really exciting last lap here.
He's got a half-second target on his back, and
Fernando's off.
Coming in through the Ford chicane, Root is now able to wave out the window, say bye-bye, see you later, and MK also does it as well for P6. Moving back on up to the front, Gran Turismo only has a 1.5-second gap between himself and Talon, but has an 8-second and closing extremely quickly gap between himself and Shaggy Doo. So these this run through the Michelin chicane and also through Indianapolis and Arnage are going to be very important for Gran Turismo.
Dan's got a half-second penalty as well that he incurred up in the beginning of this lap.
That's going to be a tricky one for Gran Turismo. I think it's going to be a game of keep away. And it might be Talon's race to win at this point if he can keep that gap under, what, a second, 1.1, maybe a second and a quarter? As they are coming down into Indianapolis for the final. Actually, my apologies, they're in the ball stand corner for the final time. Getting a very nice run out. All of those assists doing their job in tip-top fashion. Talon currently has a 2.5 and actually and widening gap between himself and Gran Turismo.
Yeah.
Well done on you, Dan, to keep the gap alive and well for the last lap of this race.
And neither one of these drivers has any overtake left. They're trying to charge it. I think it looks like Talon got a little bit there. Down to a second.
This gap is now down to under a second. This run through Arnage is going to be very important for Talon. But his tires are definitely ready to clock out.
Is it raining?
The rain.
The rain is, oh Lord, the rain is hit at the most inconvenient time for our drivers. Oh, now they have to play extra carefully for these overtakes. Oh, they're going to be fighting.
He's going to come next to him. Yeah, Dan lets him have the position. I'm pretty sure he didn't want to fight with him in the rain going into the Porsche curves.
Oh, nobody will want to fight going into the Porsche curves in the wet. As they are keeping it in single file line, they'll have to be mindful of those curves. Otherwise, they'll meet an unfortunate end. Gran Turismo getting a teensy bit squirrely coming into the Corvette curves for the final time. Will Gran Turismo be able to take P1 off of Talon's hands? And that rain is coming down even harder now. I do not envy those drivers further down the grid. Talon coming into the Ford chicanes for the final time this race. Keeping it nice and neat on the left and a good exit on the right. Gran Turismo's closing it up though. And it looks like Talon was just able to keep it steady and across the line.
Talon across the line.
Followed by Gran Turismo in P2 and Shaggy Doo rounding out our podium for the evening. The True Serum coming across the Forge fans for the final time as well. And across the line securing P4. Moving further down the, oh my Lord, it is a monsoon. Root coming in through, let's see, okay, I see where he's at now. Coming through Porsche curves into the Corvette curves and is trying to keep it as decent as possible for this last run, but is also on track for a new personal fastest lap. Good on you, Root. Don't let that rain slow you down. Keep on trucking through. Hold your line. Although I am seeing that throttle pedal flashing red all over the place. Not quite sure what that means, but it only goes to show that this race has gotten a little precarious as Root flies into the Forge chicanes one last time and took quite a bit of that exit. I don't know if that'll be a penalty or not. Looks like it won't, so good on you, Root. Congratulations. A solid finish and could not drift it across the line this time. Don't worry, there's always next week. As we move on down the grid to MK coming into the chicanes as well. Being mindful of the throttle, excellent control there, and across the line to secure P6. Less than stellar race, but my Lord, he fought and clawed his way back up. He was down, but definitely not out. Fernando coming across the chicane and across the line, and that is your... he almost drifted it too. But that will conclude the first heat for our Division A races for the evening.
What a great race.
Oh, that was a fantastic race. And I'm probably, if I were the drivers, I'd be breathing a sigh of relief that the rain waited until the last lap to come in. Otherwise, we could have had a completely different end result on our hands. But let's go and move on over to the classified results for this race. Securing P1 from a less than stellar qualifying is Talon. It was pretty much a last to first for Talon, wasn't it, guys?
Yes, it was actually. He didn't put a time in, and so he climbed his way all the way to the top there.
Well, there you go, folks. We've got an NRL first, our first last to first challenge done on broadcast. Coming in P2, we have Gran Turismo, who holds the fastest lap with a 333.718. Rounding out our podium is GSR Shaggy Doo, followed by S7R to True Serum and Root, rounding out our top five. Making our way on down the grid, we have MK and P6, and rounding out our finalists for this evening is Fernando Button, who had a personal fastest lap of a 343.946. This race was definitely unpredictable, and that's one of the glories about circuits like Le Mans and everything. It's you can never get too comfy, and it's always going to be unpredictable, even in just something like the money grind. What are your guys' thoughts on the race, Slemma?
That was exciting to watch. We knew weather could potentially play a factor, but who would have thought that it would hold out all the way till, well, halfway through the last lap or whatever the case may be there. So that was extraordinary to watch. Always awesome to watch these guys, and they certainly put it out all on the table for us tonight.
Here in this very fast car was something that I couldn't even think of doing, let alone be as quick as they were. But that rain at the end, that was something I was actually keeping an eye on throughout the race. And the one time I didn't check it is right when it happened. So that's very unpredictable. And I don't even know how I would have adjusted to that on the fly like that.
Honestly, I couldn't agree more. And this was a very intense race. So let's talk to our finalists for this evening and our podium finishers. Let's go and have a chat with GSR Shaggy Doo 88. Shaggy, how are you feeling, sir?
You got me?
Yes, sir.
All right. Much better now that it's over with. But wasn't sure if like that strat was even going to pay off, the two stopper. And I don't know. I had a lot of emotions after certain things that have happened today, and hell, even before the race. But just happy to bring it home. And I apologize to Truth. I don't know if I damaged his car. It was never my intention to get into him. Like he just surprised me with the braking. I was trying to pass, and I'd caught up to him like super fast. And I don't know. I didn't think he was letting me go by, but I tried to pass him, and I don't know if I damaged his car or not.
Well, good show on you for showing good sportsmanship and apologizing. If anything did happen, I'm sure the stewards will make a note of it. But you said you ran a two-stopper. Can you tell us about what the thought process was for your strategy for this evening?
Just go as fast as I possibly could on each stint. Like, I'm not the best on tire wear, so I was trying to maximize what I could do on each tire. Put a couple of laps in there with the mediums, and then two stints of the softs. One was 2 and one was 3, and see if I can make that work. And I mean, it worked well enough, but it still come down pretty close. And especially with the rain coming in, wasn't really sure how much that was going to affect everything. And it come in like halfway through the last lap. I'm just kind of like, okay, fine. Didn't really play a factor, but I think it did. I like to watch the replay, but I thought Dan was ahead of Talon, and all of a sudden Talon, I'm like, oh, okay. But hey, good on them for finishing P1 and P2. I'm just happy to bring it home with something.
Absolutely. Slow-mo, what burning questions do you have for our third place finisher for the evening?
Shaggy, always a pleasure to watch you run. Personally, obviously, I love that Subaru livery. That's right up my alley. So that was really awesome to see as well. Obviously, you mentioned you ran a two-stopper. You started out on the softs. Was there a preferred tire compound that you wanted to have on the car in case it rained? We know these cars were pretty slippery with these tires on it. Was there a strategy you had in your mind, like, hey, if I see rain, I want to be on my softs or my mediums?
Well, I actually practiced in the rain more with the mediums because I didn't know how long, or if I was going to attempt like a one stopper, stay pure and see just if random rain come in. But it never did come in when I thought it was going to come in midway through the race. It came right at the end, so I went ahead and ran the mediums and ran the softs for the last stint. That way I could bring them home and use the overtake on them. I wanted to get the fastest lap or try for it, but just unforeseen things happen and just had to bring it home.
Well, congratulations on your podium finish. Leo, you got any questions for Shaggy today?
It's great to see you out on the racetrack there, Shaggy, especially since that you said you were injured your back last weekend, and just happy that you're here. I did have a question during qualifying. I noticed that y'all were in the very, very back, barely using any throttle. I was just curious on what the strategy there was.
Well, I wasn't sure what Dan was going to do. Like, I thought he was going to, go ahead, or if he was going to wait on me. I don't know, because some people prefer to be the last car in the train, qualifying, and then some people will just let people go by and want to be a certain distance from them. And I wasn't sure what he was going to do, so I was like, man, I'll just go ahead and go by him because I figured he might have won the last, in the train to qualify and give room. And that's pretty much what it is. It wasn't like a strategy play as far as like saving tires or anything. I mean, a little bit, but it's just giving room and distance and having your own, space to play with for the qualifying lap, so you could just push.
Gotcha. Well, congratulations on your P3 there.
Yes, congratulations indeed. Thank you for your time, and we can't wait to see what next week has in store for you. You go and relax and celebrate a very hard-earned P3.
Appreciate y'all guys. Appreciate McNaughty, and I hope we see many, many more seasons of this because this is about as fun as it can get.
Oh, without a doubt. Thank you, Shaggy.
Cheers to
Agreed.
that,
problem.
Shaggy. Thank you.
Agreed.
Yeah, have fun.
Oh, we will.
Moving on over to our second place finisher for Split 1, Dan Turismo. Dan, how are you feeling?
Still shaking a little bit. I think I was white knuckling that whole race.
Yeah, that was quite intense. So you had a very sizable lead for a decent portion of the race. What part of that lead could you attribute to your strategy that you had spent all week practicing?
I knew that I was quicker on the softs. So I'm like, after qualifying, I was kind of surprised to be in P2. Kind of took me by surprise. So at the last second, I decided to stay on the softs, try and make a little bit of a gap to the guys that I assumed were going to run mediums. And it worked out pretty well. I got a decent lead. I saw MK and Shaggy dive into the pits and my heart dropped. And I'm like, oh no, what am I doing? The strategy that I worked on is no good. So I was freaking out that third lap, and I was holding on to that for dear life too. But after that first stint, it was just trying to keep Talon off. He was just way too quick. I saw him catching me, and then a couple penalties stacked up, and he deserved it, man. That was a good drive from him. So that was awesome.
Well, you definitely had a hard-fought race, and congratulations for a well-deserved P2. Slow-mo, what questions are currently burning through your mind?
Dan, first of all, congratulations on the second place finish. That was a lot of fun to watch. We enjoy watching you guys out here. So thank you for all the hard work you put in to bring a good race to the table today. You mentioned a little bit about the penalties, and we didn't necessarily see you incur them. But we did see you serve those. The 1 second penalty on the second to last lap, we thought that was going to end up being a bigger loss of gap than it ended up being. And then the second penalty you got there on the half second on that last lap was, really the deciding factor in the race. Probably. Do you think without those two penalties, you win that race?
I don't know. I mean, they definitely got in my head a little bit after I kept getting them. I'm like, oh, he's got me now. You know what I mean? I knew he was back there gaining on me. So if it wasn't the pressure from the penalties, it would have been pressure from Talon being fast. So I think that it shook out the way it probably should have.
Yeah, indeed. That I mean, no matter how you shake it, penalties or not, you performed just spectacularly, and definitely got yourself a good bump up in the standings with your points for this P2 finish, and also holding on to that fastest lap. Congratulations on that as well. Leo, any questions?
Yeah, actually, I've got one. I've noticed that while you were racing, you kept the car very stable. How much traction control and or some assist were you using to keep this thing under control with all that horsepower it has?
I had it on TCS1. It was too much for me to control without traction control on. And in my practice, the softs lasted just a little bit longer. I don't know if it was my nerves or if I was driving a little sloppy at the first stint, but the softs were almost done when I started the third lap. So last minute decision, I turned on stability management and the other assist to try and keep me from spinning out. It was a kind of a last minute decision to just be assisted out of my mind. But without that, I mean, I think I would have lost a lot more time. And that car is so difficult to keep straight. It was about all I could do to keep it on the track by the end of it.
Yeah, them last minute decisions usually end up paying off or hurting you the most. So congratulations on P2. Thank you for the great racing.
Yeah, I
Yes,
appreciate it, guys.
yes, thank you indeed, and we can't wait to see how you fare in next week's races when those are revealed later. Go and celebrate a very, very hard-earned P2, and we will see you later.
Can't wait, guys. Take it easy.
Now it's time to talk to the man that pulled an NRL first with the last to first, our race winner for Split 1, Talon. Talon, how are you feeling?
Doing well. Can you guys hear me all right?
Sure can.
Sure can.
Cool beans.
So we saw in qualifier you had a half-second penalty at the tail end of qualifying, which invalidated a fantastic lap, might I add. How does it feel being the first person to ever do a last to first in the league?
I mean, it definitely wasn't intended that way. I was starting my second lap there on qualifying, going for the fast lap, and I don't remember who, but somebody came out of the pits right in front of me, and it just kind of threw me off a little bit. So I went wide the first turn, so I just decided to start over. I wasn't sure how much time I'd have, so I really had to push on that out lap, which killed the tires more than I was wanted, and then getting out of people's way because they were on their fast lap, and then try to get a fast lap in. And it felt pretty good, and I know it was purple, and then yeah, you hit the final chicane and all for naught. So ended up not even posting a time.
I mean, you still were able to make the most of it. Those cards fell right into your favor. And Slow-Mo, any questions?
Yeah, Talon, that was really exciting to watch. Very well executed by you. Tell us a little bit about what was going through your mind on those last two laps as you could kind of see Gran Turismo, up ahead and his taillights getting closer and closer.
Yeah, when you can see the guy ahead of you, it makes the adrenaline go a little faster and pump a little harder. Whether that's a good thing or not, I don't know. But I think Dan and I were on similar strats. He started on softs, and I was going to do a 3 on mediums and then a 4 on mediums. Weather notwithstanding, obviously that could have thrown a wrench into the spoke. But yeah, I wasn't able to make the softs last for 3 laps, so I just decided to do a one-stopper on the mediums, and then every time I feel like I would gain a few tenths on Dan, I would then lose it on like the next turn or something. So I heard he had a couple penalties. If he didn't have those, I'm sure we'd be talking in different orders right now.
Yeah, congratulations. That was exciting to watch. Leo, what do you have for a victor tonight?
I got one question and then congratulations, Talon. I've raced you in a couple of actually a few lobbies, and I know you're quick. I guess the only question is, how does this compare to all the other stuff that you've done? Like, how much practice have you put in and stuff like that to prepare for this race?
I would say this one is probably second place of the three. I think I did the most practice on the Raptor race last week because I just don't rally in this game. That race was actually a lot of fun, so it was a lot more fun than I thought it was. But this particular one, um, I would say medium level, just racing against the AI basically to try to work some things out and. That's when I found out that I liked the medium one pit medium with intense fuel saving there on the second stint, and it worked out all right. And that last little bit was pretty exciting from my end too. I agree with Dan. It was white knuckling it there because he had that half-second pen, and I thought it was going to slow him down a lot more than it did, but we ended up going almost side by side through the Porsche curves on the last lap with dead tires and an empty tank of fuel, and the skies decided to open up. So kudos to Dan for driving really well and keeping everything clean. And I want to second what Shaggy said. I really appreciate this series. The work that everyone puts into this, from the stewards to McNaughty himself to you guys, it doesn't go unnoticed, and it's a really fun event to be part of. So appreciate that.
Thank you, Talon. That means a lot to us. And if I remember correctly, you're P1 and also day one for McNaughty's channel, aren't you? Weren't you the first subscriber?
I'm one of the OGs. I remember back in the day when McNaughty started streaming, his chat was just full of me talking back and forth with him. So it's really cool to see how far he's come and how far the channel has come, and he deserves it, and everyone deserves it, and it's all a good time.
Well, thank you so much for your time, Talon. Go and celebrate a monumental victory, and we can't wait to see how you fare next week.
Appreciate it, guys. Cheers.
You're here. Well done.
Cheers.
Congrats.
And with that being said, we are going to take a brief interlude while we get everything set up for our Division B heat for the evening. So please go grab yourself a drink, grab a snack, and we will get right back at you once this break has concluded. Stay tuned. Welcome back, everyone. We are about to get our Division B race underway. Let's take a look at what they're up against this week. From France to America, our drivers are here at Willow Springs, more specifically the Big Willow layout for 20 laps in the RE Amamiya FD3S RX37 on the racing RX7. Sorry, brain had a lapse there. On the racing hards and racing mediums, with the racing hards required, with the grid start with false start check on as well, just like in our Division A race, with a 5-minute qualifier, 12 times tire, 3 times fuel. And this is going to be a very challenging one for our Division B racers. But there's not a doubt in my mind that these drivers won't be able to pull off some fantastic racing. Now, moving on over to the point spread for this Division B heat, it's back to Slow-Mo to fill you in on how it works. Slow-Mo, all you.
Thank you, sir. As you guys can see here on the screen, we've got our points that are going to be awarded to the drivers. Again, this is based on their total race times. So the driver with the fastest total overall race is going to get that coveted 24 points, and it's going to go down the line from there. In addition to those points, the drivers can also earn additional bonus points by taking one of those sought-after podium spots, putting up a fastest lap in the race. So you'll see those point totals there on the right-hand side.
And also one thing to throw out, that this is not an elimination race for Division B. And moving on over to the driver lineup for this evening's festivities, we have P. Speedy Lee, Skeletor 698, Jay Smith, M. Marino, Purple Nurple 88, PHG Papa, Jay, Redneck C137, Bells, Lewis, Beef Castle, YT Average Kurt Games, Smokes VR6V, and Jack PHG SVG15. Listed under their names, of course, are their team affiliations, as well as their YouTube and Twitch information, should it be applicable to that driver. This is a tricky one. Leo, I know you've spent quite a bit of time with the Division B guys practicing on this. So what are some of your key focus points going around this track?
Toon, I've did spend quite a bit of time with these guys going around this track, and let me tell you, this is a handful. One of my weaker tracks that I do not know much about and or how to get around here very quickly, as I've found out throughout the week. But these guys have put an incredible amount of time in and have gotten really quick. Couple of the certain sections is on top of the hill there. If you give too much throttle, the back end will try to come out, and on the final turn, if you hit the dip just right, you will sling the car off into the sand.
So these drivers definitely have to keep a eye out on their racing lines. Slow-Mo, what are your thoughts about this track with this car combination?
In my experience, when I've run this track in the dailies, it really can be very important to get a good starting position. So I think these qualifying laps are going to be really important for these guys. It can sometimes be difficult to get a pass done depending upon what part of the track you're working on here. And I think we're going to see a lot of sand thrown up here at some point before the end of the race.
Could not agree more. Let's see what qualifying has in store for us as we take a look on the perspective of Jay, who is coming up into Budweiser balcony for the first time of this qualifying session. Jay is a free agent, currently sitting in P5 for our Friday Division B heats with a total of 31 points. You can find him on YouTube at JToJesus8216. Now, Leo, I'm getting word from production that we have received a super chat from William Lines, aka Redneck C137. And thank you, William, for your support. It definitely means a lot to all of us at the league. And for those of you that do not know, this league is 100% community funded. So any super chats, ad revenue, likes, comments, subscribes, shares, Swiss bank account transfers, secret Venmo transactions, anything and everything funnels right here into the league for these drivers, our stewards, and us up here in the commentary booth. Every little bit goes a long way, and we thank you for your consideration. And Jay is now on his hot lap, holding it very nicely through Rabbit's Ear, coming up into Budweiser balcony once again. This is going to be a very tricky one for these drivers because there's no Armco, there's no concrete barriers. It's nothing but them and the desert. So coming back on track is going to be quite the pain as we see Jay moving on over towards Monroe Ridge. Keeping it nice and tight. Those medium tires are already showing a sign of life. So we're going to be in for some interesting pit strategies as this entire soiree plays out, I guess you could say.
Keeping
it
Leo,
nice on the right way.
I'm sorry, Leo. You ran a bunch of laps. Tell us a little bit about what you think is going to be the go-to pit strategy for this race.
Slomo, I've seen a bunch of people run different pitch strategies. Me personally, I'd probably start on the mediums. Actually, correction. I'd start on the hards, as the requirement says, and go about 10 laps, and then do another 10 laps on the softs personally. But I've seen guys talk about doing a two-stopper where they're going to run the hards and then go straight to the not the softs, I'm sorry, the mediums.
It's definitely going to be a guessing game, and we're already seeing these fastest laps change left, right, and center. And we are now on board with the winner of last week's race, PHG Papa, part of Papa's House of Game. He is currently P2 for our Friday Division B heats with a grand total of 39 points. You can find him and the rest of the PHG Army over on YouTube at Papa's House of Game, all one word. And now, Leo, during the week of practice, you and I had a little bit of shenanigans with some of the drivers, and I do recall a certain color commentator getting his car airborne and flying over Papa's car while he was driving. Can you foresee any cars getting airborne from taking a less than stellar line this evening?
There's a great potential for that. Yes, we were just messing around at one point, and I was able to clear Papa's car on that second turn there. If you hit the, not the invisible wall, but if you go to the right of it, you could definitely clear the whole entire track. I hope no one does that, but it's a possibility.
Well, on screen, we just had somebody go off. Well, we're unfortunate. Let's get a replay of it, shall we? Everything's looking nice and neat, and then, unfortunately, just understeers off and into the realms. Now, if I remember correctly, Leo, there's not a reset point over on that section of the track when you go off, is there?
No, the reset points over on some of the sections of this track are very, very far away. You can get away with pretty much going around the entire track without getting reset, essentially.
That is going to definitely be a tricky beast for these drivers to manage, as we are now on screen with Bells, who is a free agent and sitting in P10 for our Division B Friday heats with a grand total of 20 points. And I'm looking at these the fastest lap time right now, and it's looking like it might be in the hands of Redneck C137. He's got a astounding 117.544. These times have dropped immensely from when practice first started last week, where some of the fastest times we saw were just 120s. They've shaved 3 seconds off, so this is gonna be a race full of surprises without a shadow of a doubt. Moving on over into Lewis's perspective, who is sitting behind Bells at the moment, coming around the sweeper for the last time, coming into turn 9. Will Bells keep it on track? It looks like he will. Good show from you, Bells. Lewis is a free agent sitting in P7 for our Division B Friday heats. You can find him on YouTube at Lewis KD. I think that's a P or a D. Lewis KD Lopez. As everybody is crossing the start-finish straight for the final time for this qualifying, it's looking like we're gonna be in for some very intense racing, and pit strategy is definitely going to play a huge factor here. So let's see how many people focused on their lines and how many people focused on perfecting those pit strategies. I'm getting, as we are waiting for the qualifying session, what is the rest of the grid looking like, gentlemen?
Tune, I'm looking through the grid. I think that we're supposed to still have somebody coming through, but I think everybody had finished. Everybody had their hazards on at the point that I started flipping through drivers again. So it looks like this is where we're finished, or well, starting.
All right. Well, let's take a look at those classified results, shall we? So starting pole for our Division B race will be Redneck C137 with the fastest lap of a 117.544. Coming in just a little over a quarter second behind him in P2, very close, mind you, is Purple Nurple 88, and rounding out our top three for the starting grid will be Skeletor 698. Moving on down the order, we have Lewis starting in P4. Rounding out our top five will be PHG Papa, followed by PHG Speedy Lee. Going down over to P7 will be Beef Castle, followed by Jay. Over in P9 will be M. Marino. P10 will belong to Jack PHG SVG 15. P11 will be Bells. And rounding out our starting grid for this evening will Smokes VRV or VR6V. This is these times are pretty close if you ask me. So I think it's not going to be a case of racing lines. It's going to come down to pit strategies at the end of the day and who's going to want to hold on to those mediums for as long as possible. And I'm getting word from production that we have received another super chat, and this one is from Dryce Photography. Loving the content, guys. Thank you so very much. It is our pleasure to have your company and to bring you this quality of content, and we hope to continue to do it for you guys for many years going into the future. Now, as we wait for our race to get underway, Leo, Slow-Mo, we'll start with you, Leo. What are some of the unpredictable factors that these drivers will have to consider, barring their pit strategy and also trying to keep everything on the tarmac?
Well, Toon, this track does lend to a lot of elevation changes, which can upset the car very quickly. And this being the RX-7 FD, it does weigh next to nothing essentially, especially with a rotary engine, a 1.3 13B. It is a very light car, so it can get very light in the rear end, and it can step away from you very quickly if you're not careful.
Do you think we'll wind up seeing quite a bit of understeer because of the lightness of it?
Oh, most definitely. In practice with these guys, I've noticed that if you push this car too hard, it will understeer into oblivion and push you out into the sand very quickly.
All right. Slow-Mo, if you were racing this race, what would be some of the things running through your mind as the race would be starting?
Honestly, for me, here at this particular track, my focus is going to be to keep the tires off the sand. We've seen it in previous weeks. Just one little grain of sand can really send some cars for a spin. And as Leo mentioned to us, they're very light to begin with. You do have to very cautiously drive this car. I think that this race could very well be decided by who can maintain the best control of their car through some of those challenging situations and those elevation changes, and do we have somebody outdrive themselves and miss a brake spot, or that turn 9 can be pretty tricky coming into that last straight, setting up for it. If you're a second late on your setup for that turn, you're in deep trouble.
That is a very good point. And I'm getting word from production. We have received another super chat, this one from Bobby McGee. Thank you so much, Bobby. Your support means a lot to us. And what's this here? Let's Go Papa. Looks like the PHG Army has quite the rally behind them this evening. And we also have a gifted membership from Bonnie Miller. And it looks like it went to Titanium Ashes. Well, congratulations, Titanium. Thank you so much for the membership gift, Bonnie.
Yeah.
All of this is all of this just means the world to us, and we definitely would not be here without every single one of you. And it looks like we are about to get our race underway. Now, these cars are very light, and I already see traction control on for some of the drivers. Do you think they'll only have it on for... Oh, those horns are going off. I love to hear that. And the lights are on. Everybody's ready, revving those engines. And how will the start go? Everybody has kept it nice and neat, and we are off for our Division B Friday heat of the week 3 of the NRL's 3rd season. Purple Nurple has gone up the inside and taken P1 from Redneck already. Looks like we're going to have some 2-wide action coming into Rabbits here, folks. A little bit of a nudge, but nothing major. Everything is looking A-okay. Everybody's keeping it nice and neat. And let's see if we're going to see more 2-wide action moving into Budweiser balcony. Oh my lord, we already are. Well, Skeletor sends it up the inside and is trying to take P2 from Redneck, but Redneck's saying, not today. Everybody is keeping it nice and neat so far. Some have opted to remove the traction control, and some are kicking up a little bit of dust on the way. This is definitely going to be an interesting lap. It's 20 laps of this, folks. So we're gonna see a lot of changes in the standings. Let's see one more time what the start looked like. Keeping everything nice and tidy. Everybody getting up to speed, trying to get onto their preferred racing lines. Looking at a very nice Pennzoil livery, That's very well done. These drivers definitely put a lot of time into their liveries as well. Oh yeah, that's the kind of stuff you'd expect from the NRL. Go ahead, Slomo.
Leo, I got a shocker for you. Everybody except Skeletor and Purple Nurple started off on hards.
Wait,
I don't think we expected that. There's only 2 drivers on racing mediums on the track right now.
Well, that's actually quite unexpected. I thought we'd see more people starting on the mediums to try and get their pace in, but it's actually clever thinking from those drivers to go and get the hard stint out of the way. The question is, how long will it be? Beef Castle was touching the sand for a sec, was able to keep it maintained. Good on Beef Castle, as Speedy Lee is currently trying to fight his way up the grid with a quarter-second gap between himself and Beef Castle, and a quarter-second gap between himself and Jay. Looking over at the details for PhD Speedy Lee, he is a part of Papa's House of Games racing team. His currently our P1 sitter for the Friday B Division Heat with a grand total of 41 points, and you can find him on YouTube at _Buddy Lee. As they come into turn 1, everybody's keeping it nice and neat over into the start-finish straight. This might be the prime overtaking spot for these drivers. That is a huge pack, and yep, Speedy is flying up. Will he be able to shoot it up the inside? It's looking like it. They're too wide at the moment, folks. As they're coming into Rabbits here, will Speedy Lee be able to find an opening? Does not look like it at the current moment. Never mind, I stand corrected. Speedy Lee might have the opening he's looking for, but Beef Castle is defending it just. He's in a good position.
He's just got to get through that spot, and this back half of the track's going to be tough to do that. But as we all know, anything can happen. One little slip and slide, we see him sliding all over the place there. Boy, that's a good battle there.
Yeah, that's definitely a good battle. That's going to be a huge pack battling for P6, if I'm honest. And as we take a look at Emberino, who is just barely trailing behind Jay and just barely ahead of Bells. Yeah, we're going to be seeing quite a bit of action going on over at this end of the field. And I think this is going to be one we're going to need to come back to every now and then. Because, yeah, that's very tightly bunched up. Look, as we take a look at the details for Emberino, he is currently a free agent, a.k.a. not signed by PHG yet, and P11 for our Division B Friday heats with a grand total of 15 points. You can find him on YouTube at Marino Racing, and it looks like Jay just overtook Beef Castle for P7. Yeah, these guys are fighting their way up through the grid right now, coming into the braking zone, keeping everything nice and neat. Moving on over up to the front of the grid, we have Redneck C137 just barely, actually losing it. Oh no, the announcer's curse struck Redneck.
Yeah, and it's going to take him a second to get back on track. And when he does, he's going to have dirty tires for, what, a good half lap, Leo? I mean, how long are those lasting? Leo, did we lose you?
Leo, you there?
My apologies. I didn't realize my mic was muted. I apologize. So these tires take forever to clean off, from what I know. It takes a good 2 or 3 laps for them to get back to normal. And on that note, the tire wear on these hard tires, it can last up to 10 laps, but you will have your left side tires pretty much dead after that.
Thank you, Leo. So how's the grid looking over in your perspective right now?
I got my eye on Speedy Lee right now, but I'm also keeping an eye on Jay. He's extremely close. Other than that, we just had Pete Castell go off
into the dirt, but is able to get it back on track. He just has to be careful coming into Rabbits here with those dirty tires, because now this car's going to earn this year way more than he hopes.
And it looks like Redneck has gone in and swapped off that hard compound. He's on the mediums now.
That's a clever thing. Get yourself on a fresh set of rubber. Probably because Redneck was on what, the medium tires?
No, he started off on the hard tune and then he switched over to the mediums. One interesting thing about this track is it doesn't seem like the pits take as long as they do on some of the other circuits we've seen.
That it doesn't. And moving on over to Skeletor, who's front, actually the entire left side's about to be down for the count. Skeletor is a free agent, currently sitting in P4 for our Division B Friday heats with a grand total of 32 points. You can find him over on YouTube at KingTR84, and he is gaining on Purple Nurple as we speak. Do you think, Leo, do you think that Skeletor will be able to have an overtake with the tires in the current state they're in?
Toon, it's going to be extremely difficult because most of these corners are right-handers, and that's putting a lot of weight on those tires that are, well, non-existent at the moment. So he's going to have to play his cards right as we watch him, and he goes off the track a little bit.
Somebody was in dirt. Yep.
Yeah, that was Skeletor. It's extremely hard to do that with the situation that he's in with the tires.
Leon, while we were watching that, Redneck had made a pass on Smoke and then ended up getting caught into the dirt after turn 9. So unfortunately, he's back at the back of the pack now.
Luckily, we're only just over a quarter of the way through this race, so anything can happen. And looks like Purple Nurple is pulling away from Skeletor as we speak with a completely gone left side.
Maybe worth a replay for P11. Smoke went off, and I don't know. It's really hard to see what happened, but it happened pretty quickly. As we see a couple cars there going in. Looks like our leaders are in the pit. Yeah, look at that. Just hopped over the curb. I don't know if he missed his braking point or, like you were talking about earlier, got tunnel vision or what happened.
It looks like it might have been.
I've actually done that practicing. You come in that thing with too much speed, you can actually kick the back end out and send the car straight to that wall like that.
That is definitely unfortunate to see, but there's still tons of time for Smokes to make up any lost ground, especially with the grid the way it is. It's still nice and neat. We've got, well, if I'm one of the drivers, maybe if I'm the drivers, I'm considering when I should go into the pits. These cars are starting to get a little squirrely with the tires running out. Also, it seems we have Papa Kurt at the moment sitting in P1 as I swear. Oh, there it is. Yeah, Purple Nurple actually went going into the pits, didn't he? Before the replay, we saw quite the train of cars going in, but one of the drivers
did go in. He's got fresh set of hards on that, so he did take a pit. And again, that's how fast this pit lane is.
Yeah, it's a blink and you'll miss a pit stop. Moving on over to Jay on the racing hards. Still has plenty of life in those back left tires and going into the pits. I guess he's hopping onto those mediums. Let's see how Speedy Lee is faring. Also, got a little bit of life on the back left tire, so I think he can get another lap in maybe a half on that set of tires. It's definitely hard telling. Let's see if we can get the graphic up for the potential pit strategies for this race. While that's underway, we see Speedy Lee coming into Budweiser balcony, has about a second and a quarter gap between himself and Lewis. So Speedy Lee is definitely playing catch up right now, and it looks like it's going to be working in his favor. As long as he can hold Monroe Ridge nice and neat, he'll be closing that gap even further. Now, Slow-Mo, as we see these pit strategies, I'm going to list these off to you, and I want you to tell me what you would go with. So we have a strategy where it's 9 on the hards, 5 on the mediums, and then a pit for a second stint on mediums for the last 6 laps. And then we also see one where it's 5 laps on the mediums, 10 on the hards, 5 on the mediums, or just a double stint of hards for 10 laps apiece. If you were in this grid, which one of those potential strategies would be most viable for you?
You know, Tim, personally for me, I'm going to take the middle strategy there. I want to start off on the best compound and try and get a little bit of space. Put my hard compound on for the middle of the race and you know, hopefully maybe be able to kind of keep and maintain the position I'm in, and then get onto that medium compound. Specifically, I'm not afraid of a 2-stop on this track because the pit lane is so quick for some of these guys. You know, we see some of these tracks where it's 30, 45 seconds. This one is not. You're in and out pretty quick. So, you know, I would not be scared of the 2-stop strategy for this race.
Neither would I. With how quick this pit lane is, yeah, I would definitely opt for a 2-stopper as well. What about you, Leo?
Well, mine was kind of proven wrong earlier, apparently, because everybody started on the hards. But, oh no, we got some action going.
Skeletor just barely got through Speedy Lee, no, that was Purple Nurple, my apologies, who ran a little bit wide. He was able to pull off a Moses maneuver, part the Red Sea, and get away unscathed, but that was high risk, high reward from Skeletor, and we're glad to see that it worked out in his favor as he is coming into turn 9. Excellent exit. Maybe not so excellent exit, but Skeletor was able to get it back on track and hold on to that P3 for the time being. But now he's got to be very careful about those dirty tires as we see Purple Nurple and Speedy Lee trying to come and take him up. And look, wow. Skeletor, oh my lord.
Skeletor, get there.
Skeletor definitely got a bunny hop.
Oh, and
got reset back on the track.
Jay almost ran into him when he came back onto track. I mean, I don't know that would have been his fault. That was just where they put him. But wow, what a wild ride that must have been.
Oh yeah, that was definitely some rally crossing we just saw. But I don't know, if I'm the stewards and there was contact on that one, you can't fault either of the drivers. That was literally the game doing that one.
Yeah, that's where the game put him. I don't think he had anything to do with it.
Oh, he was ghosted. Ooh,
yep.
He was ghosted.
Yeah, he was
Thank
ghosted.
the Lord.
He was.
Oh, good on the game to have the wherewithal for that one. Let's go check in on our front runner right now in Papa, who is 5 1/4 seconds ahead of Lewis in P2 and is rocking those hards, even though they're definitely down for the count.
We gotta expect him to come into the pits
nicely.
one of these laps too, but I don't know if it's this one, and it's not.
I guess not. Papa's definitely playing some risky business, but then again, this is Papa we're talking about. He might be pulling. He might be doing an 11 and 9. He might even be pushing those to where he runs those hard till he literally can't anymore and then finishes on the mediums. He's got himself quite a bit of a gap, but that gap is closing to Lewis here and there. So it's going to be a game of only time will tell as we see Lewis is now trying to fend off Purple Nurple, Speedy Lee, and Jay all at once. There's a nice little train right behind Lewis, so he's going to have to be mindful of his defensive lines and his braking points. As we see Purple Nurple is trying to come up the inside, but Lewis just gently closes that door, getting a little squirrely coming into Budweiser balcony. It's definitely a tricky one for Lewis, but if anybody can defend, it's these Division B drivers, that's for sure. The caliber drivers we have here in the NRL are just on a completely different level to what you might normally see from just your usual daily races. That's one of the beauties about this league. As we see, Lewis is now just under a quarter of a second and closing rapidly ahead of Purple Nurple as they come into turn 9 for the 11th time. Will he be able to hold him off? Looks like Lewis is going into the pits to get on a fresh set of tires. Good thinking. Now the question will be, will he stop for some fuel as well? It's 12 laps in, he's got 48 fuel. He might be able to just get some tires and go. Now, Leo, you were doing practice races as well. Did you ever have to worry about fuel, or was it primarily just tire saving?
Tune, it was mainly tire saving. A little bit of a splash didn't hurt at all.
I think our leader ran off. Hold on, no, maybe not. It might have been Smoker.
But yeah, no, mainly tire saving is what I would have mainly focused on when I was with these guys. And back to the whole tire strategy before everything kicked off there. I think Papa's going to do what I was going to think about doing if I was racing. He's going to go maybe towards all the way to the end until he can't no more, and then throw the mediums on, because that's what I would have done.
Yeah, that's definitely a solid strategy. Moving on over to Jay, who is currently sitting in P3 and is trying to gain on Purple Nurple and Papa, but Papa's still got quite a bit of a lead ahead of him. And moving, and Jay is off into the dirt.
No.
And has a 1.5 second penalty as well.
Oh no, that's a bummer.
That is unfortunate. Did he get reset too?
Yes, he did.
Now Marino's off. Will he be able to join back on?
Oh boy.
Little dicey. Why does Skeletor got a 3-second penalty? Can we get a replay and see what happened?
What's going on here?
That was unexpected. Let's see here. There wasn't any contact there.
Net code.
That's an interesting penalty. Yeah, I don't quite understand what happened.
That's
the game man
unusual.
thought that he was pushing the car off.
That's just unfair. But either way, we don't get to decide what's fair here. Let's keep on moving with the action. Looks like Jay is trying to keep up with M. Marino at the moment. M. Marino is also closing in on Skeletor, and P4 belongs to...
Speedy Lee touched the dirt a little bit.
So Speedy Lee got into the dirt, and it looks like there is a nice little overtake. I think Jay and Marino are going to be able to overtake Speedy Lee right here. And I think they're going to want as much of a gap as possible, especially because that penalty line is right there on the start-finish straight. It's going to be an interesting one. And it looks like Jay's front left medium is donezo for the moment. And now the question becomes, he had one come off and come back on. Good on you, Skeletor. As Skeletor and Jay serve their penalties, everything is now back in proper form, and they can get into the racing action.
We've got Speedy Lee dipping into the pits here. It looks like he's going to get off that hard compound and move over to the racing mediums.
With us being on the final 6 laps, that definitely is a solid idea. Now, I see Papa still hasn't budged from the front. He hasn't gone into the pits yet, has he?
No, he has not pit. No, Papa's been pushing.
I'm wondering if he's going to go all the way.
As we take a look with Jack PHG SVG15, he is part of Papa's House of Games racing team and is currently sitting in P13 for our Division B Friday heats and is getting overtaken on the inside by Speedy Lee. You can find him on YouTube at JackofTrades0911. So I'm trying to wrap my head around this. Is Papa really trying to go for a no-stopper?
Is he pulling the Shaggy special and going no-stop on us?
That's what I'm thinking too. I think he may have took some notes from Shaggy and said, I'm going to send it.
Surely the car can't pull off a no-stopper, right? That's inconceivable. But let's not get bogged down with that. Let's check in on Beef Castle, who is currently 6 seconds ahead, or 6 seconds behind Skeletor, and has a 1 second lead over Speedy Lee at the moment. This grid is definitely had its fair share of shakeups, and it's quite interesting to see. Beef Castle, of course, is a free agent sitting in P7 for Division B Friday heats with a grand total of 24 points and is coming into rabbits here in exuberant fashion on those mediums, which will allow him to be a little more bold with his acceleration and being able to maintain a good racing line. And B Castle definitely held a great racing line through there and is able to increase his gap between himself and Jack just for a moment as he's flying up into Budweiser balcony. This is unprecedented, and it's just giving more like proof to the claim anything can happen for this race. If we see a no-stopper, I think I'm gonna have to stop speculating on strategies for the races. What about you, Leo?
I may have to as well, because he's still not gone into the pits yet. I'm in disbelief right now. I mean, I tried it and I couldn't make it stick, so I don't know what tricks Papa's got up his sleeve, but he's got something there, I guess.
Well, and I wouldn't be surprised if he comes in here in the next lap or two and takes that set of mediums. I think he's really trying to maintain that one-stop strategy. He's obviously met his tire requirement with the running the hard, so don't be surprised if he pops in and grabs a set of mediums. But to that same point, I can't say that we'd be surprised if he stayed out. I mean, it's another 4 laps. It looks like he's got that car really well under control through this track.
He does indeed have this car well under control. Those assists are, of course, doing their job and helping keep everything in tip-top order. I don't know. Looking at Papa's tire life, I can't foresee the front right holding on for another 4 laps. So, yeah, I think Papa might be jumping onto the mediums here in a second as he comes into turn 9. Moving on down the grid to Beef Castle, who has a conga line behind him right now to try and hold off and secure P5. He's currently 3/4 of a second ahead of three-quarters of a second ahead of Speedy Lee and is currently playing catch-up to Marino. Looks like the tire strategies did play a huge factor in here, given some of the gaps between the drivers. So this is gonna be a fun one for all of us to see, and especially with all of this defending that they'll have to do on a track that, I mean, there really aren't a ton of overtaking opportunities, but there are quite a few like possible places to overtake on this track if you do it carefully, and especially if you're ahead of somebody. Defending on a track like this is going to be a challenge in its own right, just because you have no safety barrier to really help you with it. And moving on over to Jay, who's breathing down Jack's neck and is about to send it up on the outside in marvelous fashion, but looks like Jack might be able to overtake on the inside. No, backing out and giving the position to Jay. Good show of sportsmanship from Jack, realizing that it is not a hill worth dying on. And we see Jay is now gaining on Beef Castle quite quickly. Those fresh mediums are coming into play and doing a wonderful job at it. Leo, slow-mo, pop. Oh, and somebody was off. Could we see who that was?
You know, I believe that was Skeletor, but we'll see if we can get a... Smokes VR.
And it was Smokes. Let's see what happened to Smokes. All right, coming on down towards Monroe Ridge. Looks like Smokes just gave way for faster traffic, it seems. I'm thinking it might be...
He is a lap down, so maybe that was a blue flag situation and him just yielding to the faster drivers. So, you know, kudos to you for that one.
Oh, yes, kudos indeed. Excellent.
While you were watching the replay, I'm keeping an eye on Papa here, and he still has not gone in.
Oh,
well, he's not doing it then. If he hasn't gone into this point, I can't imagine he's going to come into the pits and give that lead up. But doesn't Shaggy work pit crew for Papa? Is Shaggy in his ear? That could explain some of the strategy here.
I cannot confirm or deny that.
Nor can I.
A local PA expert.
Yes, give us the insider scoop, PHG Leo. What? But you were in a lot of Papa's lobbies for practice. Did you ever see Papa once pull off a no-stopper or attempt a no-stop strategy?
You know, to come to think about it, no, I didn't. I
Yeah,
don't think I did, honestly.
We're on the penultimate lap. His front right is definitely about to give up the ghost. He'd have to hold on to it for this lap and the next to successfully pull off a no-stopper, which... oh, and looking at the fuel... Ooh.
Yeah, he's playing a dangerous game there.
This is a very dangerous game. It's getting to the make or break point for Papa. This is interesting, and Purple Nurple is now about 2.5 seconds behind. Last we checked on Papa, he was about 1.5 seconds ahead. So this is unexpected. This is unprecedented. Dare I say unorthodox, as Purple Nurple is trying to play catch up right now, and also has Lewis breathing down his neck as well. So there's got to be a lot going through Purple Nurple's mind at the moment. Otherwise, this is going to be quite the upset for a last-minute change to happen this close to the tail end of the race, as Papa is starting the final lap of this race. Looks like Lewis is going to stay into Purple Nurple's slipstream as long as humanly possible, coming into the braking zone, taking a nice break. Will he be able to get a nice line out? Yes, indeed, as Purple Nurple runs wide and half the car goes onto the dirt. That's definitely going to cost Purple Nurple a little bit of time and afford Papa a little more breathing room up at the front for this final lap of our Friday heat for Division B. Will Lewis be able to overtake Purple Nurple at any point during this, or will he be sitting confidently in P3? Only time will tell.
You know,
but Lewis
Toon,
doesn't have much to worry about. Oh, go ahead, Slomo.
Toon, I got to tell you, if I'm a driver right now in this last lap in one of these top 2-3 spots, I think my goal is to try and get in the guy's rearview mirror, make him nervous, and see if you can make him, cause him to make a mistake. So we just saw that, and I think that could also play out here in the last couple turns as we come in. And I'm looking. I got to see if Papa's got any fuel left. How's Papa? Papa is running low, buddy.
Yeah, as he comes into the sweeper for the final time, going into turn 9 as well. Papa literally cannot make a mistake on this, otherwise he loses the race victory. And what will happen? Oh, and Papa holds it.
Oh my goodness!
Oh my God, Papa!
Finish.
Oh,
look at these guys.
Are we gonna have a shootout? Nope. Papa secures P1 with the no stopper. Oh my Lord!
Oh my goodness!
Wow!
Who is this Papa? Where has he been? As we see a very nice shootout between Purple Nurple and Lewis across the line. Moving on over, M. Marino has now crossed the checkered line, as have Speedy Lee and Jay with Skeletor not too far in tow. Jack PHG SVG 15 now coming across, as we see some drivers further in the back taking a wider line outside of turn 9. This has been an unprecedented and just unconventional race from everything I've seen. Moving on over to Bells, who is coming around turn 9 for the final time, keeping everything on the tarmac and across the line, as is Smokes VR6V. Okay, this was, I thought a no-stopper was out of the question. What about you, Leo? You spent so much time racing this.
I'm sorry, I'm speechless.
Fair enough.
I didn't think it was possible either. I don't know what to do with my hands right now. I'm like a Ricky Bobby. I don't know where to put them because I'm so confused.
I am too, but congratulations, Papa.
Yeah. Congratulations, Papa. Way to go.
Slow-mo, what are your thoughts on the most unorthodox strategy I've seen this season?
Well, there was no question. We got to see some cars throw a little bit of sand around today. I knew that was going to be a big factor as far as keeping your car under the track, keeping it under control. And really, we just saw a masterclass from Papa. Maintained one single tire throughout the race, maintained the control of his vehicle throughout the race, and just, steadily kept that distance. He wasn't pulling away. We saw at one point, Purple Nurple was much closer than he was when we came back in the last couple laps. So Papa, Steady Eddie just showed these guys how to run these 20 laps here at Big Willow today.
He sure did. And moving on over to the classified results for our Division B race, we have Papa in P1, following very closely behind Papa are Purple Nurple and Lewis. The latter of two, might I add, had a shootout at the last second for the P2 spot. Moving on down the order, we have M Marino in P4 with PHG Speedy Lee in P5. Coming in P6, we have Jay, followed by Skeletor 698, Jack PHG SVG 15 in P8. Moving on over to P9, we have Redneck C137, who also has the fastest lap of a 117.246. That is a blistering time. Rounding out our top 10 for the finishers this evening will be Beef Castle, followed by Bells and Smokes VR6V. This, yeah, that's a first for me. I've never seen somebody with the fastest lap all the way over there. It's all right. I'm getting word from production that a certain somebody in the booth donated $10. So Leo, thank you for the $10. Let's go PHG, and I'm pretty sure you're supposed to be unbiased, buddy.
I cannot confirm or deny.
Likely story. But either way, that was a terrific race. This has just been an amazing season overall. Wouldn't you agree, Slow-Mo?
Oh, Chun, I mean, obviously, you are just about speechless, and we all know how rare that is. That was an amazing finish. We love to see these guys fighting for that podium position. And how about that? I mean, 1, 2, 3, right there. That was anybody's race. Anything could have changed the course of that. We didn't see, the folks up in the top make too many mistakes, although we did see plenty of people, building sandcastles here and there throughout the day.
They did. I'm getting word from production that we also received another super chat. This one from Bobby McGee for $1.99. Couple bucks for gas money for Papa and PHG.
Well, get some gas, Papa.
Well, I mean, Papa's not going to see that $1.99, but thank you so much for the generous donation.
Good looking out, guys. Thank you.
Yeah, good looking out.
Yeah, thank you.
And now it's time to move on to the interviews, and I think we should just get this one out of the way. Let's talk to the race victor himself, the proprietor of PHG, Papa himself. Papa, how are you feeling, sir?
You guys, OMG. I can't believe that worked.
Jesus Christ!
Yeah, when was the last time you heard somebody say, "I can't believe my strategy worked"? How about that?
I think the last race, but I can't believe Papa said that. So let's just cut right to it. Papa, what compelled you to try a no-stopper?
Honestly, my plan was to stop at about the end of lap 7, lap 8, and put the mediums on. But I ended up in the lead, so I figured, well, let's see if they catch me first. And I got a little nervous there at the end with Purple Nurple coming from behind, but he slipped. I don't know, it just worked. So I just kept going.
Yeah, it worked, and I don't think anybody even saw that coming. Slow-Mo, any questions for the man himself?
Yeah, Papa, one quick question, and then I've got another one to follow up with.
Okay.
Can you confirm or deny, did you have Shaggy in your ear during that race? Did somebody encourage you to skip the pit stop?
No, actually, it was mentioned last night, I think, that Shaggy was going to be in my ear, but no, I had nobody in my ear.
Okay. Well, my
Speedy
follow-up
Lee,
question. Oh,
Yep,
go
go
ahead.
ahead.
I'm sorry. No, please.
I was going to say, Speedy Lee and I kind of threw the no stopper strategy a few days ago up in the air. So we always had that, kind of in the back of our mind, but I really didn't think it was going to work tonight. I really didn't.
my follow-up question is, this track and car combo can be a little bit wild. We saw a lot of folks end up off track. Tell us a little bit about how you maintained that vehicle even without taking any sort of fresh tires at all through the race. How hard was it to keep that thing on track and under control? It looked very easy, but I know it's not.
No, it was not. Honestly, that was probably the first time I put 20 laps in a row without spinning out 3 or 4 times out in the dust. So I don't know. It just came together.
Yeah, that was a master class on controlling that vehicle. So, Papa, great run. Congratulations on another win, 2 in a row. Look at you go.
Thank you,
I'll
sir.
turn it over to Leo.
Thank you, guys.
Well, Papa, congratulations once again.
Thank you,
Surprising us
Leo.
yet again with a surprise. I don't how I guess you got a lot of tricks in that bag, don't you?
Hey, when you get old, you learn to hold on to a few of those things.
Um, I guess I don't even know what question to ask you because I'm speechless. I mean, did you besides the car being difficult to drive this week, did you find anything else challenging about it?
Oh yeah, the whole week was challenging. Honestly, I was expecting a, 10th to 14th place finish here.
Well, I mean, it did work out the way you wanted to, I guess, on a whim. Again, a last minute change proved to be a call that someone made, and it worked out for them again.
The strategies are working. I know I'm not the fastest driver out there. There's, 3 or 4 of them at least that are out there that are faster than me. So I gotta, like I said, I gotta pull those tricks out somehow, somewhere. They
Yes,
just happen to
sir.
work the last couple weeks.
Hey, and that's great to see. So I can't wait to see what you do next week.
Indeed. And before we let you go, let you get back to the stream, I do have one more question. It's no
Uh-huh.
secret, you're not a huge fan of this track. And I think I
No,
already know the answer here, but do you have a newfound appreciation for this track now that you've spent so much time practicing on it?
nope. Never want to see it
That
again.
that's what I thought. I do not blame you, Papa. Congratulations on back-to-back victories, sir. You go celebrate. Say hello to the paparazzi for all of us, and we can't wait to see what tricks you have up your sleeve next week.
All right, guys. Hopefully I can pull another one out. Thank you. Thank you for everything, guys.
Great job, Papa. Get you a fizzy pop.
Go get that
PhD.
dude. Go get
Gonna
that
go get
dude.
it. I'm out. I got to go get one. Thanks, man.
Alrighty, everybody. While we get the provisional standings tabulated for all of you, we are going to take another interlude, and we will be right back with some more racing action with our second heat for Division A. Stay tuned. Welcome back once again to the NRL Season 3's third week. We've had an amazing evening so far, and let's go take a look at the provisional standings for Division B before getting into our second heat for Division A. So, at this current moment, pending steward review of course, we have PHG Papa winning back-to-back and securing P1 overall for Friday Division B with 68 points. Coming in second, quite close, mind you, is Purple Nurple in P2, followed by Speedy Lee in P3. Moving on over down the order, we've got a tie for P4 between Skeletor and Jay. Moving on down the order, we have Lewis in P6, Redneck C137, Castle and Marino, Jay Smith and Bells tied for P10, Jack PHG SVG 15 in P12, Smokes VR6V in P13, and rounding out the order is YouTube Average Kurt's Game in P14. This is Division B's just an entire dark horse as a whole, and it's been a delight to see all of these drivers just go at it week after week, and we can't wait to see what's in store for us over for Division A's second heat. So let's go take a look at those details. We are jumping back over to France, and we are back once again at Le Mans in the Aston Martin Valkyrie 2021 for 7 laps. We have the Sports Soft and Sports Mediums available for the drivers, but the Sports Mediums are required. There will be a 10-minute qualifier with a grid start with false start check, 9 times tire wear, 4 times fuel, and heavy damage. That's the biggest thing to worry about is that damage. But either way, I'm sure we're in for some fantastic racing nonetheless. Moving on over to the point allocations, Slow-Mo, all you.
Thank you, Toon. As you guys see here, we've got points awarded to drivers based on their total race time. The fastest driver getting that 24 points. Down the line from there, depending upon what their totals look like. In addition to those points, drivers can earn additional bonus points. And that's by taking one of those sought-after podium spots and or also putting up a fastest lap. So this week, again, for these guys is an elimination week for the A-ranked drivers. So we want to see these guys stack up as many cumulative points as possible and get them through that first elimination.
Thanks, Slow-Mo. And moving on over to the driver lineup for this second heat. And as you see down at the bottom of the points allocations, the top 14 Division A drivers will move on to the semifinals. So yeah, all of these points are going to play a huge factor. And for the second heat for this evening for Division A, we have GSR La Cabra 809, Raider, Sugar Shuffles, Corridor 71, Deputy Fishtail, Boogity Boogity, Sweet Lou Sanus, and VTX Chippy. And listed under their names, of course, are their teams that they may be affiliated with, and also their YouTube and Twitch information should it be applicable to that driver. As always, you can jump on over and see if they are streaming a driver cam, but please be sure to keep an eye on this stream as well so you don't miss any of the racing action. So we saw in the first split that the rain decided to make an appearance, but luckily for those drivers, we saw it at the tail end of the race, so it didn't really have too much of an impact. Slow-Mo, do you think we'll see a repeat of that?
You know, I'm hoping we do. I think if we see that rain a little bit earlier, it's not going to disappoint any of the three of us in the booth, but maybe some of the drivers on the track. So we'll have to see how it plays out. But the settings should be the same. So generally speaking, we expect it about the same time.
Absolutely. Now, Leo, we also saw quite a bit of changes, and we saw Elasta first for Split 1, which honestly is a unicorn in terms of racing. Do you think we'll have any surprises of that caliber coming into the second split?
Toon, going from the last race we just had with a surprise strategy and into this one and a surprise in the first race, I don't know what to expect anymore. I have no idea. All my expectations have been blown out of the water, so I can't make a call to save my life right now.
Yeah, I'm with you there. And I'm getting word from production that we have received an astounding $50 donation from Fernando
Oh.
Button's Happy Fun Time Hour. It's
Wow.
one medium, one
Wow.
stop, fuel 2, do what I screwed up, TC hard, save those reviews, your preference. All right, well, thank you so much for the donation and the insider scoop, Fernando. And before we went to our intermission, the paparazzi, PhD Army, however you wish to call them, had a few more donations come in. $10 from Buddy Lee and $5 from J-Dog. So everybody who has donated, everybody who has tuned in tonight, everybody who has dropped a like, shared the broadcast with your loved ones or fellow racing fans, we thank you from the bottom of our hearts. All of this goes a very long way, and it helps us deliver top quality, high production broadcasts for all of you at home. Now moving on over to qualifying, we are at the outlap stage and following Corridor 71, who is either running his fuel tank or trying to charge up that hybrid system as much as possible. Corridor is a free agent and in P11 for our Division A Friday heats with a total of 23 points. You can find him on YouTube at Corridor 7110. Now, Slomo, you've been here for quite a while, as have I. Does this strategy look a little familiar to you?
You know, it's funny, as you were talking through that, what we were seeing, I just couldn't help but think to myself, boy, that seems oddly familiar. Is that Hawko that may have done that a couple times? It seemed like always was taking us to school and teaching us new tricks along the way. So hopefully we get to see him back in season 4. And it's very reminiscent of some of those things. And you can tell he's pushing it all the way through, the back half of the track the same way. So I wonder, if he's really wanting to get that one hot lap in with half tank, we'll have to see if we can get him in a podium spot, and if we get to interview him, see what his target tank was there.
Without a doubt, moving on over to VTX Blindman GT, who is a part of Team Vertex Racing, currently P5 in Division A Friday heats for this season with a total of 40 points. You can find him on YouTube at LoganNelly9936 and just flying on into the Porsche curves, hitting that braking zone nicely, getting a little squirrely, but saving it all the same. Now coming over for the Porsche curve itself, keeping it nicely, getting a little close to that wall, riding that curve in a proper fashion. And coming over into the Corvette curves, just keeping it nice and steady for this outlap. Definitely don't want any penalties coming in for your outlap, because those 10 minutes will fly by pretty quickly as we see him come on over past the pit line, actually into the pits. Never mind. All right, and moving on over to Boogity Boogity, who just came out of Arnage. Holding it at half throttle at the moment. Must be trying to get some grip under him. Boogity Boogity is a free agent, currently sitting in P14 for our Division A Friday heats with a total of 17 points. And it looks like Boogity Boogity might just be having a leisurely Friday evening drive over France, and I don't blame him. It's a beautiful track, beautiful car. I'd be doing the same thing if I were in his shoes.
Toon doing that, maybe actually saving his tires for his hot lap, like I was stating in the first heat there. That's what I'm thinking he's doing there.
You might be on something indeed, as we see Deputy Fishtail on his hot lap coming through Tetra Rouge magnificently on those softs. Using all the overtaking he can get. Oh, that hybrid system also kicking in and sending him sailing down the Mulsanne Straight, heading up towards Daytona. I think we're going to be seeing some pretty impressive lap times. Deputy Fishtail, of course, is a free agent. Currently P8 for our Division A Friday heats with a total of 34 points. You can find him on YouTube at Deputy_Fishtail. Taking it nicely through the Daytona chicane, and actually was using the overtake on exit to try and shave off a tenth or two there. Clever thinking indeed. Let's see how he does coming down towards the Michelin chicane here in just a second. Magnificent livery on that car, by the way.
Yeah, I was going to mention something about that. I'm digging it quite a lot. It's like a flat black with the Patron on the side.
Well, it's all just elevated because the Aston Martin itself is just a gorgeous car. Yeah, that is nice.
Now,
That
I
is a
will
pretty
say having that matte black paint in the dark may be an advantage for him. It won't be as reflective on the headlights and stuff, so may be able to, not be able to blind people behind him, but he will be blending into the darkness at some point.
That is true because it does get pitch black out there. Slow-mo, what are your thoughts on the shade of his livery? Do you think that might give him a little bit of stealth on the straights? Do you think it might pose a hazard to the other drivers?
I don't know that it's necessarily going to pose a hazard. I mean, I'm a sucker for the flat blacks and the flat grays. I think they're at least 5 horsepower, maybe 10. So, no, I really think that that's a cool choice. Hopefully it all goes well for him and he gets himself a podium so he can do some shot time after the race.
Fair enough. I think he's got his victory drink on the mind should he secure a P1. Already having a fantastic time so far coming out of Arnage heading towards the Porsche curves. This is shaping up to be a really impressive lap as the sun is beginning to set already. And Le Cabra is having a nice picnic watching the sunset. I envy you, Le Cabra. Coming through nicely. Everything is tidy. Yep, that is definitely the practice at work coming through the Corvette curves. Using all the track available within reason. Yeah, this is definitely shaping up to be a really, really good lap. This will definitely set the pace for the rest of the second split because we have fantastic drivers all throughout this league. And as we see W. Fishtail come across the line with a 3:31, what was that, 8:38? 0.638, yeah. That is a quick time. Moving on over to VTX Blindman GT, who is We'll check on Blindman later.
Maybe we can check on Corridor. I think he's just finishing up a hot lap here.
Let's take a look-see. Looks like that hybrid system is gone, and he is now coming across the 4 chicanes to set his qualifying time, which is 31, 32, 33, with a 3:33.457, a very, very good time. And Deputy Fishtail has decided to retire to the pits for this qualifying session.
And Toon, actually, Corridor started that hot lap that he just finished on just over a half tank of gas. So, it looked like his fuel saving strategy did help him out and lighten him up a little bit. Looking through the field, I think, people are struggling to get a good clean lap in here right now. So there's only a few drivers that actually have a valid lap time up so far.
Understandable. Moving on over to GSR Le Cabra 809, part of Grove Street Racing. Currently sitting in P6 for our Friday Division A heat with a total of 39 points. And yeah, these liveries are just nice this time around. And coming into the Daytona chicane with a gusto. Using the overtake on the exit to try and make up for any potential lost time or shave off some extra time. It's going to be a very interesting race as we see W. Fishtail currently sitting in P1 with Boogie Boogity taking the P2 spot, and Corridor sitting in P3 spot, all just chilling in the pits. I think they're satisfied with their lap times, everybody. Coming through the Michelin chicane, holding it nicely, short shifting up to 4th, running a little bit wide, but I'm pretty sure that was still within track limits. And already has a purple, over a quarter of a second down. Yeah, woohoo! Ooh, if I'm Deputy Fishtail, I better be keeping an eye out on the Cabra because he might want to get back out there just in case. Should he
well,
have
it's past the point of no return. He can't get back out there and get a whole, get all the way through his hot lap to get another one in at this point. So he's going to have to sit back and see how Le Cabra finishes off this lap.
Yeah, that is a very good point. And Le Cabra got a little squirrely on the exit of Mulsanne Curve. So I think that time he shaved off might have just been blown away. We will have to see when he comes over to the next time check as he flies on into Indianapolis. Taking a nice break-in line, shifting down, keeping it on a tight line, getting all of that inside curve to give him a nice runoff. And no, he still has purple. Not as much as he used to, but that's still fantastic. Yeah, he's approaching.
I thought he looked really good through that section.
He did indeed, and it is now sundown for the drivers that are still trying to qualify at the moment. Sweet Lou Sanis taking P4 and hanging out in the pits. Well done. Coming over into the Porsche curves, holding it nicely. God, I do not envy trying to drive in the pitch black. Oh my lord, almost half a second off. Yeah, La Cabra is flying here.
Yeah,
Taking
he got
a
a
good
little
line
bit
through
of clean
Corvette curves.
track.
Yeah, a lot of clean track, honestly. And coming up towards the Ford chicane for the last time in this qualifying session, let's see how he fares. Hard on the brakes, cutting the left, getting a good amount of the right. And rinse and repeat for this chicane, getting a little squirrely and into the gravel.
Uh-oh.
Oh no!
Oh no.
But still made it to the
purple.
Holy
purple!
cow! Wow.
My lord, if he hadn't had that less than stellar exit from that, he might have actually set something in the 30s. As we take a look down at Sugar Shuffles, who is flying through the Porsche curves. Holding it nicely, coming up towards the Corvette curves, and yeah, this pretty much a rinse and repeat of what we just saw with La Cabra. Sugar Shuffles, of course, is a free agent and is currently P11 for our Friday division heat for Division A. Currently sitting with 23 points. You can find him over on YouTube at Sugar Shuffles. And if I might add, he didn't get to finish the lap.
Oh, that's
man.
unfortunate.
Oh, that is unfortunate. Well, moving on over to the classified results for this qualifying session. P1 will go to La Cabra with a 331.232. And following very close behind in P2 is Deputy Fishtail. Rounding out our top three for the starting grid will be Boogity Boogity, followed by Corridor in P4. Sweet Lou Sanis, rounding out our top five for the starting grid. And then we have Sugar Shovels and VTX Blind Man rounding out our starting grid for the final race of this evening. This was a very, very interesting qualifying session, to say the least. What are your thoughts, Slomo?
You know, one thing I caught as they were just finishing qualifying, there was only two drivers out on the track. La Cabra and Sugar Shuffles were on the track, but everybody else was in the pits, and they were showing sports medium. So I wonder if that's going to give us a little bit of insight as far as what these guys are starting on, or if they're playing maybe, I'm going to show you what I'm doing here, and then I'm going to switch back to hards. I don't know. We'll have to see if that plays out, and that's what those guys run.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. And we saw quite a bit of difference in strategies. Some were staying out longer on the soft. Some were staying out less than they probably should have on mediums. It's all going to be a big guessing game. And given how tonight's gone, I'm not guessing anymore. How about you, Leo?
I'm not gonna guess either, Toon. To be honest, I don't even know what to expect anymore. These guys have pulled countless tricks out of their bag and said, "Hey, watch this while I do it." And yeah, I don't know what to expect here. I mean, these guys are quick, properly quick. So I'm just excited to see what happens and go from there.
As am I, and then at that rate, let's cut to the chase and move on over to the start for our final race of the evening, Division A Heat 2 for Week 3 of the NRL's third season. They're lined up on the grid. Will they show proper discipline of the gas pedal and the throttle and wait for all these lights to go out? Only time will tell. And in 3, 2, 1, they're staying still, and they are off. GSR La Cabra having a fantastic start, but it looks like Deputy Fishtail had just a slightly better one from what I was looking like. Coming up into Dunlop curve, we've already got two wide. Sugar Shuffle's moving on up towards the P3. And, we've got a lot of people running wide. Can we get a replay of what we just saw?
While they're pulling up that replay, we've got everybody except for La Cabra and Sugar Shuffles on medium. So those last two that were on track actually started on soft. And Sugar Shuffles got a great run, bunch of positions right off the bat.
Ooh.
I think Deputy Fishtail just lost control of it and got put off the track.
That is the downside to those cold tires, and luckily it looks like contact was avoided as we jump on over to Boogity Boogity, who is now on to the Mulsanne Straight for the first of 7 laps, where anything can and will happen. Currently has slightly over actually a second gap between himself and Blind Man, and is also 1.5 seconds ahead of Sweet Lou at the moment. We've already seen a huge shakeup in the standings, and this is definitely the first of many to come. Moving on over to Corridor, who's coming through Daytona and holding it nicely, opting to not use the overtake until now. Very nicely done. That way he can have more for the rest of the race. It looks like Corridor is also closing that gap now to Sweet Lou, who's now just using Slipstream as opposed to the overtake. Great thinking from Corridor. These people are definitely in this league for a reason. They have just insane track IQ and everything. As Sweet Lou runs wide and will get back onto the track in clean fashion. We will have to see if he gets a half-second penalty for his troubles, but now they are too wide. Oh, he gets a 1-second penalty for track limits infringement. Oh, that's just unfair. I don't understand a half-second, but one? Oh, GT. Coming into the ball stand corner, let's see how they do under braking. Sweet Lou slightly gaining on him, running a little wide to avoid contact, and everything's in nice, neat fashion, and Corridor is slamming onto that overtake button.
Oh, and while we were talking, Sugar Shuffles actually just made a pass on La Cabra for the lead. I don't know if we can get back and take a look at that, but what a great pass.
Let's go and take a look. Walk us through it, Slow-Mo.
You can see he's got a great run on La Cabra coming out of the corner, and I guess La Cabra just didn't get good traction off there, and he just, poked his nose in and took that spot without a problem. He had plenty of momentum to get by him without any issues.
Yeah, while we were in the replay, La Cabra and Sugar Shuffles were going too wide in that last corner.
Wow.
They are going to duke it out.
Oh, La Cabra is
my goodness.
Oh, that was an ankle-breaking juke. Where did La Cabra find that speed? As they come through portion curves, and La Cabra is going, almost gone out of sight from Sugar Shuffles. Oh, La Cabra is not here to play around, folks. Coming through the Corvette curves, looks like Sugar Shuffles is going to try everything he can to make sure he keeps La Cabra in his sights, and rightfully so. Sugar Shuffles also has about a 1 second-ish, a little over 3/4 of a second gap between himself and Blind Man. So let's see how Sugar Shuffles goes about defending that while making sure it doesn't compromise his gap to La Cabra, who is just speeding away. Looks like Sugar Shuffles is currently on the racing softs or on the sports softs, my apologies, and Blind Man is on the sports mediums. Now, if I was seeing that correctly, La Cabra is also on the sports softs as well, isn't he, Slow-Mo?
Correct. Yeah, the two cars up front both are on the sports soft, so you've got La Cabra and Sugar Shuffles. Everybody else is on the mediums.
That is impressive to see. The gap is being maintained with the difference in tire compound. Arguably a gap that most people would deem pretty much impossible to maintain. As you see Blind Man flying through Tetsuru's, keeping Sugar Shuffles in his sights, and it looks like La Cabra is just peeling away. I wonder where that speed is coming from. Is he just hammering on that overtake like Blind Man is at this current moment? Is it just a better racing line? Nobody really knows. We'll have to wait and see what happens as this race unfolds. Seems Blind Man currently has a almost 4-second lead, and
he's making a pass, but that's going to be a penalty for sure.
Oh, that is going to be a penalty without a shadow of a doubt. I think Blind Man may have missed his breaking point and realized it's too late to back out now, and to avoid imminent disaster went and just took avoiding action and flew through the chicane. That is unfortunate to see, but Sugar Shuffles is still definitely within range to get his second place back as they come into the Michelin chicane. Moving on over down to P6 and Sweet Lou, who is currently 2.5 seconds, just actually 2 3/4 seconds behind Corridor, and about 2 1/4 seconds ahead of Deputy Fishtail. Keeping everything nice and neat through the Michelin chicane, everything looking in tip-top fashion. Sweet Lou, of course, is a free agent sitting in P16 for our Division A Friday heats with a total of 6 points, but that's A-okay. There's still tons of racing and points to be had for this evening as they come on down to Mulsanne Corner. Taking a nice line on the outside, a little slow on the exit, but looks like it was still enough to help him catch up to Corridor ever so slightly. It looks like Deputy Fishtail is also in tow, so we might see a three-way battle for P5 over the coming laps, depending on how pit strategies play out. Speaking of pit strategies, let's see if we can get that handy-dandy graphic up for the viewers at home. Here we have a three-stop strategy with 3 laps on the sports mediums and a double stint on softs for 2 laps apiece. And we also have a double stint on mediums for 3 laps apiece and 1 lap on the softs to close it out. And then there's also the one-stop strategy with 4 laps on the mediums and 3 laps on the softs. This is definitely not the definitive guide for these strategies, but I mean, a baseline is a baseline. As we see Deputy Fishtail coming through Arnage with a 3.5 second gap between himself and Sweet Lou, but we could also attribute that to the damage he sustained earlier in the race. So we will see if he goes and opts to repair that damage when he goes into the pits at some point during this insane race, honestly. Coming in through the Corvette curves. Still trying to keep Sweet Lou within sight, which is good showing. And LaCabra goes and sets a 3:34.96. Woo! That is a blistering time. Oh my lord. Seeing the fire shoot out of Deputy Fishtail's exhaust pipes, moving on up to Blind Man as the sun is now coming completely down. We have entered twilight on this beautiful track with this beautiful car. And LaCabra is 15 seconds ahead of Blind Man at this current moment, and Blind Man is also sitting about 7 seconds ahead of Corridor as Sugar Shuffles has gone into the pits. See how Blind Man fares coming on into Tetra Rouge. Little squirrely. Oh, very squirrely. Paul was able to keep it just nice, keep it on track just enough as he comes into Mulsanne. That was odd to see. I think he may have just had a little bit of oversteer from liftoff or something. But moving on over to Deputy Fishtail, who is now closing in on Sweet Lou, and actually is about a 2.5 seconds, but is also in a pretty good position as we see Sweet Lou is less than a second ahead of Corridor coming into. Oh, and he is off.
Oh,
he is
no.
off in Daytona. That is the third time this evening we've had the camera curse. So I'm gonna look away from the screen. Somebody's gonna have to give me the play-by-play here because it seems I am ruining races here, folks.
Leo, take it over, buddy.
Oh, well, I guess I might have to. I feel like I've been affected by that curse myself a couple of times.
You're welcome.
The announcer's curse is real. It's real.
It is a real thing.
I guess it is. But as we jump on board with Boogity Boogity, who is currently 2 seconds and 3 seconds now ahead of Sweet Lou, and is very, very rapidly closing on that gap between himself and Deputy Fishtail, which started at about 4 seconds and is dropping to just under 3 here in a second. Flying down into Mulsanne curve. Ooh, power sliding around that like it's Need for Speed, but keeping it nice and tidy on the track. Very well done, Boogity Boogity. Risky, but well done.
That was possible with this car.
I did not either. I thought if you lost your grip, it was game, set, match. What's everything looking like from your perspective right now, Leo?
I'm just keeping an eye on the field. I was definitely keeping an eye on Deputy Fishtail in the earlier stages after his little incident there. And he was gaining on Sweet Lou way back then, and now he's definitely trying to pull away. Other than that, we got RJ that took his pit stop and is quite a bit further back, but he is still gaining time on Sweet Lou. And then LaCabra is doing LaCabra things and blasting off into the space in the time zone there.
Yeah, that is a blistering time from LaCabra so far. And Boogity Boogity is now coming into the Porsche curves, just almost kissing that wall.
And Jim LaCabra is actually in the pits. He's going in to get off those soft compounds. His rears were completely shot.
And he is also definitely going to be needing a good chunk of fuel. I think he was just sending it from start to finish.
You bet.
My lord, as we see Blindman GT take the lead for the moment. His back tires are also looking a little worse for wear, but all of our drivers here in the NRL are, of course, very talented drivers, world-class drivers, mind you, and they can handle pretty much everything McNaughty throws at them, including the kitchen sink, as we see VTX Blindman coming through the S's in marvelous fashion and heading into Tetra Rouge yet again. A little squirrely, you could hear those tires squealing from the understeer, but looks like he was able to keep everything running magnificently. You'll love to see it, folks. Moving on over to LeCabra, who has just got out of the pits onto the sports mediums. Let's see what he can pull off with a fresh set of rubber on arguably a very cold track. So, oh, and it seems we have Sweet Lou with a penalty up ahead. So that'll be some ground for LeCabra to take. Oh, and Sweet Lou is off. Let's get an action replay of what just happened there. Oh, there's Sugar Shuffles. Oh, narrowly avoided disaster. All right, Sweet Lou coming in. Coming through the S's. Everything's looking A-okay so far into Tetra Rouge. Light on the brakes, and I think just took too much of the curb and it unsettled him. Got heavy damage and a 1.5 second penalty for it. But fret not, Sweet Lou. There's still tons of racing to be had. Just dust yourself off. You're down, but certainly not out, as Mass Koala showed us in the earlier split this evening. Coming through Daytona, keeping it nice and neat. Oh, go ahead there.
While we're watching the replay there, I took a split second to watch the weather radar. I haven't seen anything yet, but it may end up coming later on like it did last race.
That is a very good point, and that's something I hope our drivers are also mindful of, keeping that weather radar on as much as they can. And as we see Deputy Fishtail come through Mulsanne Curve, and it's looking nice. Kept it nice and neat. Has a 3, almost 4 second gap in closing the corridor. It's 3 3/4. Yeah, about there. And has a 3 second and closing gap between himself and Blue. So Deputy Fishtail might be having to start thinking about some defense coming on up. Go ahead, Summer.
Two things to look at here as we're watching Deputy Fishtail. Look at his tires, and he's also got damage. Running in 3rd place, doing a great job keeping this car, with the rubber down and keeping it face forward. He doesn't have any rear tires. There's a little slip off, and he's got rear damage as well. So, wow, kudos to Deputy Fishtail. That's got to be a fantastic job.
Oh yeah, without a shadow of a doubt, Deputy Fishtail is making the most of what he's had so far and overcoming a less than stellar start to this race, and is already up in P4 and losing grip, but bringing it back. He's saying, "Not today, car." As we see him come into the Porsche curves, keeping it nicely, turning in a little early to make sure he hits that apex. Will we be seeing Boogity coming into the pits as well? Those tires are looking a little worse for wear, and that fuel tank is definitely running a little sparse.
Well, we've got Blindman who came in.
Yep, and it looks like
Boogity follows suit.
Yep, Boogity and Deputy Fishtail, as well as Corridor, are all in the pits. Blindman sitting on 2% of fuel. I think this is going to turn into a opportunity for LeCabra to go and retake P1. With definitely Sugar Shuffles and Sweet Lou not too far behind in the grand scheme of it all. Holding nicely through the Ford chicane and across the line to start the 5th lap. This has been intense racing from everything we've seen, and LeCabra, ever since coming out of the pits, is trying to pretty much fly out as fast as humanly possible. So well done to LeCabra there. It definitely goes to show that he has been putting in a lot of effort. And I mean, what else can you really say about LeCabra? He had an intense race last week. Had a dominant showing in the first race. LeCabra is LeCopper's really a powerhouse this season. What are your thoughts, Lama?
He really is, and he. I got to tell you, initially when I saw him holding out and not going straight into the pits, I was starting to get a little bit worried that maybe it would cause a slip up or an error. But boy, he maintained it and pushed hard. And Sugar Shuffles is the other one. When he pit, I was worried that strategy wasn't going to work out, and it's playing out perfectly.
It is indeed. And if I'm mentally mathing correctly, we've only seen one stop from all the drivers, correct?
That's correct.
So do you think we'll see another stop, or do you think everybody's running a one-stopper to their own taste? As we see Deputy Fishtail coming through Daytona right on Boogity Boogity's tail. Looks like a prime overtaking spot for Deputy Fishtail, who actually opted to get the damage repaired. Good call. Yep, and just took P5 off of Boogity Boogity's hands. But yeah, do you think we'll see another pit stop in the future, or do you think it's just going to be one-stoppers for everyone, Slow-Mo?
So, Toon, first of all, I stand corrected. Sweet Lou did not pit yet and has ran out of fuel.
Oh,
He's
no.
working his way back to the pits. Yeah, so that's one that I missed. Beyond that, I saw a lot of guys take, a couple of them took double mediums, so they didn't even touch the soft compound. So I don't expect to see these guys pit anymore.
Who all took double mediums?
So it looks like Corridor, Boogity Boogity, and I think Sweet Lou is probably he'll probably take the softs at this point. But those two guys both did double mediums, and I just didn't see that strategy coming.
Nor did I, and Sweet Lou did make it to the pit safely. That is a relief to see. Moving on up to Boogity Boogity, who is currently playing catch-up to Deputy Fishtail, and Boogity Boogity is on those mediums. So it's definitely possible to keep up. Making sure to take a wide line coming on into Indianapolis. Hard on those brakes, but trail braking enough to get around with enough speed. And moving on over to Arnage in the braking zone. Short shifting up to second to maintain stability, and well done by Boogity Boogity. And I see he's also got quite a bit of a curve system in reserve, so that's gonna definitely play a factor in catching up to Deputy Fishtail and possibly other drivers. Now, Slow-Mo, at your earliest convenience, can you let me know who on the grid is conserving their battery for the extra speed boost, and who might be running low? As Sugar Shuffles is in the pits. So our second pit from Sugar Shuffles today.
Yeah, Sugar Shuffles is almost out of fuel from what it looked like, so he may be just doing a top off and go and going from there.
That could perhaps be the case, Leo. As we see Corridor coming through the Fort Chicane, staying in fourth. That's interesting. Leo, you spent a little bit of time practicing on this. What were you normally in for some of these chicanes? Were you keeping a higher gear for stability, or were you trying to capitalize on exit speed and taking a slightly lower gear?
When I first started practicing this, I was definitely like, ooh, a very fast car. Let me just try to go as fast as possible. Turns out that's not the call to make at all. It's definitely getting into the higher gear to keep that traction is the best call for that. Yes, it's fun and all to go real fast, but if it doesn't get you anywhere, then there's no point. So definitely going up a gear in the turns that you normally would take versus like a normal car that you be driving. That'd be the call to make on that, I would say.
Looks like we had
Go ahead, Tim.
No, we're going to say the same thing. As we were chatting away, we did see a very nice overtake by Deputy Fishtail, who took P3 from Corridor over on the Mulsanne Straight. And they just got through Daytona, and now we're heading towards the Michelin Chicane. Will we see Corridor try and strike back and take P3 from Deputy Fishtail? Only time will tell as they come into the braking zone. Corridor staying in third gear, dropping down into second, and short shifting to third to get some traction. Those tires are squealing from all of that torque, and Corridor's on track to set a new personal fastest lap. So that's great to see, but Boogity Boogity is also not too far behind as the rain is coming down. Oh my lord! They're going to have an entire lap in the wet. They need to be extra careful now.
Oh man, that's going to be very difficult on worn tires, especially sport tires, from what I know. I didn't get too much time to practice that in particular, but that could be very dangerous very quickly.
Without a shadow of a doubt. Slow-mo, how many of the drivers are currently in the wet with the mediums on?
The majority of them. There's actually only Deputy Fishtail, Blind Man, and I think Sweet Lou are on the soft. So everybody else is medium.
Ooh, as Corridor outbrakes himself into Arnage. Narrowly avoided disaster, but well done either way to Corridor for making sure that there was nothing, there was no casualties, I guess I should say, as he is flying up into the portion curves and already gaining on Deputy Fishtail again, moving on up the grid to Blind Man, who is just really having a field day right now, taking a wide line. I'm getting word from production that Blind Man actually started this lap 18 seconds down. And if, oh wow, Blind Man also set a new fast lap with a 3:30.179. Now, for those of you that may not have caught last week's broadcast, La Cabra and Blind Man actually had the greatest head-to-head battle in arguably GT7 history. So if Blind Man keeps closing this gap, we're in for a repeat of that as La Cabra comes into vision, but Blind Man got a little squirrely, but that's not going to stop him at any rate.
I will say,
it doesn't look like it's raining really hard to me,
dude.
La Cabra might have a half second there, but I don't see a ton of rain like we saw in the last race, so maybe these guys luck out.
They might, as Sweet Lou as well has a half-second penalty. Will La Cabra be using Sweet Lou's slipstream? Nope, not enough time. And that gap to, and Blind Man's gap to La Cabra is just slightly increasing, but something tells me that's about to drop as La Cabra hammers on that overtake. We see a little bit of water kicking up here and there. Looks like some of the track got a little more moisture than the others. Only time will tell how all of this plays out. Will Blind Man be able to run a repeat of last week's head-to-head battle with La Cabra? That's got me at the edge of my seat. How about you, Leo?
Oh, I'm definitely on my edge of the seat for this one. Them two had an amazing battle last week, especially towards the end there. But we'll see if he can catch him. He's about 4.5 seconds behind. So I don't know.
And rapidly closing.
Yeah,
True.
I think he dropped a second so far this lap.
Oh yeah, it's
the rain's coming down harder
dropping.
now.
In Tune, from what I remember, you said that this track is so large that it could be raining in some spots heavier than others. Is that correct?
That is correct from last I recall. As we see La Cabra coming out of Mulsanne corner for the final time, and Blind Man is still rapidly gaining on him. And Blind Man is on the Sport Sus with La Cabra on the medium. So yeah, it might not be a matter of if, but when. But only time will tell as they come down towards Indianapolis. This in the wet will be a bit of a tricky little bugger. But no challenge whatsoever for Blind Man or La Cabra as they take Indianapolis nice and neatly.
And there goes another second off that gap.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
about to say the same thing.
Let's see how Blind Man does coming out of Arnage. Not stellar, but that's definitely not going to stop him at any point in this race because he's now within 2 seconds, 2.5, almost an entire second. Oh my lord, he is coming in hot. We are definitely in for a head-to-head heat for P1 at this rate, folks.
Yeah, hopefully now that they don't get tunnel vision. That's the worst thing that can happen, especially with the rain and the unpredictable traction.
Yeah, and these wet curbs, as we see BTX Blind Man coming over the curbs in the Porsche curb.
Into the Corvettes. Oh man, they are pushing it, right? Look at that.
Oh my lord, yeah. Well, part of me doesn't even want to say anything, just wants to let this last little bit play out as
What happens in the
Blind Man-
chicane?
Ooh, Blind Man had a great run out of the. Oh my lord, they are.
He's right there. He's got to look.
Will there be enough? Will VTX Blind Man be able to overtake Le Cabra? No, Le Cabra is able to hold on to it, but just as we have positions 1 and 2 come across the line. Moving on down into P3 with Deputy Fishtail, who will be able to sit comfortably in P3, mind you. Over the 4 chicanes, keeping everything nice and neat. Taking a little bit on the right and a little bit on the left. And it's business as usual and across the line. Corridor as well coming on in and across the line with a very, very respectable P4 with Boogity Boogity not too far behind him. Making our way down the grid with Sugar Shuffles, who had a fantastic run this evening. Coming into the 4 chicanes for the final time and across the line.
Yeah, Sugar Shuffle's results really don't show that was a great race for him. I think he just ran a little light on fuel towards the end, but wow, congratulations to Le Cabra. That was exciting all the way down to the last second.
I think one wrong exit and we would have seen Blind Man take Le Cabra for P1. But congratulations to Le Cabra. That was a fantastic race. Now let's go take a look at those classified results, shall we? So, our race winner for our second heat for Division A this evening is GSR Le Cabra with a total race time of 26 minutes, 7 seconds, .221. And then coming in P2, just under half a second behind him, is VTX Blind Man GT, who also has the fastest lap for this evening with a 3:30.179. That is a mind-bogglingly quick lap time. I didn't even think you could get the Aston around here that fast on these tires, but shows what we know, right? And rounding out our podium for this evening will be Deputy Fishtail, who had that's a really good personal fastest lap as well. 3:34.863. Yeah, that is all of these guys are just so quick. And then coming in P4 is Corridor 71, and rounding out our top 5 will be Boogity Boogity. And in P6 we have Sugar Shuffles, and rounding out the order for the evening will be Sweet Lucinus, who, due to some unfortunate circumstances, came in a lap down, but had a hell of a showing regardless. What are your thoughts about this race that we just saw, Slomo?
Oh man, what a great race! I mean, it came down to the very last turn, last couple turns, and those guys just did such an awesome job in the wet weather to keep those cars under control and not spin them out, not give up positions. What a great race, Leo. What about you?
Oh, I can't agree more with what you just said, Slow-Mo. I'm starting to think though that Blind Man and Le Cabra might become rivals here soon. You know, like
Right?
a Goku and Vegeta situation here. I don't know which one's which yet, but I'll get back to you on that one because, man, them two can go at it perfectly fine and with the best racecraft I've seen. And that's no knock to the other drivers; they did fantastic as well. I don't know how they keep this car under control in this rain because I certainly would not be able to.
Nor would I, but yeah, that was a fantastic race nonetheless. It's been an amazing race, but I think it's time we hear from our podium finishers for the second heat, and we will start with Deputy Fishtail. Deputy Fishtail, how are you feeling, sir?
Doing good. Tough race. Definitely little comeback from the beginning there. Kind of had my work cut out for me.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. That was a rough start, but you definitely came back and secured a very good P3. So we saw that the rain came down in lap 6. How prepared for it were you due to practicing throughout the week?
I did a lot of practice, probably like rain 4 and 5, 2 different conditions. And as long as it didn't get up to the wet tires bar and stuff like that, it seemed like it was fairly controllable and stuff. So, I mean, realistically, for the last,
was it, lap and a half, maybe something like that we had the rain up in that position, but it was decent. It was basically everything we practiced for. So.
Well, glad to hear it, and I'm glad that you were able to bounce back and get such a healthy and actually a brilliant finish. Slow-mo, any questions?
Yeah, absolutely, Deputy. Congratulations on the podium finish. Really well done. I noticed that you started on the mediums, and I don't know if you saw this, but La Cabra and Sugar Shuffles were the only two that started on the softs that race. Obviously, it went a little bit better for La Cabra than it did Sugar Shuffles. Were you pleased with the way your strategy worked out, or would you have done anything different with that? Looking backwards.
It's like it's basically the fastest strategy I've been able to run in practice. I mean, it's one of those that consistent times. That was it for me. Basically, 4 medium, and then 3 soft. It was definitely working. And I mean, realistically, on the beginning, I got back end damage and rear tire and stuff like that. So I just ran with it and thought about pitting for a second. It's like, no, I'm going to stay with the strategy. So, I mean, the catching up, getting P3 definitely. I mean, it paid off. I think other strategies might have jinxed me on that one.
Yeah, absolutely. And we noticed that you ran for quite a while with some damage. Do you feel like that had a pretty bad impact on the vehicle or maybe the tire wear?
I was thinking that it may, and then the first few turns I did, it was like it seemed like it was really kind of wagging on the rear, left rear and stuff like that. And then, like everything, you get used to it and you just kind of deal with what you've got. And I mean, overall lap times, I think that they were pretty reasonable on the softs or on the mediums after that, but definitely lost some time. The damage for sure.
I only chuckle. You call it reasonable. I call it alien. What a great race. Thanks for letting us watch that. Leo, what do you got for Deputy Fishtail today?
One, congratulations on your podium finish
Thanks.
there. At the point when that happened and you were starting to catch back up, I had my eye on you for a good while. And how did you manage that? Because you had damage and everything. Is it just because you got comfortable with how the car was feeling and then just started getting used to it and just said,
really it came down to I came in with high hopes. It was one of those that I felt like being up front, I could run my strategy and do well. And basically, running really close to 26s in the practice sessions. Basically, that 26-24 I put down tonight is probably that was worth a 2-stop and all kinds of problems for me. So I felt confident in catching back on, and it was really one of those things. You just put your head down and get over it and do the best you can, and maybe be clean from there too. I mean, it's like then you're passing people that got traffic, and it all worked out. But definitely a tough, not what I was wanting to script out by any means.
Well, that's the beauty of racing. You never know what's going to happen.
For sure.
Yep. But congratulations on the fantastic comeback. You go and relax, and I hope you are excited to see what you will be up against in the semifinals when we come back from the next break.
Thank you all. I can't wait for that. You bet.
Well done. Congrats, Fishtail.
Now making our way over to our second place finisher with VTX Blindman GT. Blindman, how are you feeling right now?
Oh, I'm feeling good, thank you. That was a tense race again. They all seem to be. No, that was good. I'm feeling good after that one, sure.
We saw at like the tail end of the race as the rain was starting to come down. You turned a 18-second gap between yourself and La Cabra into a just under half a second. What was going through your mind as you were seeing the times just like start chunking away?
Yeah, I did expect it to come down with the tire compound difference. I was on the softs and La Cabra was on the medium, sorry. So I did expect that gap to come down, but I did not think I'd be able to close it in those 3 laps. I was pretty much certain, and he did get the win, but I was pretty much certain that I had a second place. But no, it was really fun to try and chase him down. That was very stressful, but very fun.
It was very impressive to see. Slow-mo, any questions for our second place finisher this evening?
Yeah, congratulations on another podium. It seems to be you're not a stranger to these spots here. So really fun to watch that. Can you tell us a little bit about, did you have to do any fuel management, or were you short shifting that car at all? And the reason why I ask is we saw, Sugar Shuffles ended up, I think, having to take an extra pit because he ran low on fuel. So was that something you had to be mindful of during your race?
Yeah, definitely. To make those 4 laps, fuel saving definitely was needed. I pretty much worked out that I could run to lean mix 6 through the slower sections. So Indianapolis, Arnage, and then through the Porsche curves. I also did a bit of lean 6 through the final chicanes. But yeah, there was a bit of half shifting as well to make those 4 laps.
Yeah, beautifully executed. Pleasure to watch. Leo, what do you have for Blind Man?
Well, congratulations again on being up here. Like I was telling everybody earlier, I think you two are starting to become my favorite Dragon Ball Z characters. Goku and Vegeta, because they're both rivals, and I think you found yours in La Cabra here. Um, how how excited were you to get to that last few turns, and you're like, oh my goodness, I am right there? Is a question I've got for you.
Yeah, that was sorry. Oh, yeah, it was getting very difficult to I was closing the gap, but it was definitely a part of the track where it's a lot harder to take a different line. So it was kind of one line, and it was just between the two of us who could keep that pace up. You definitely closed in on him, but yeah, just a little too late. A little too
I
late in the
mean,
track.
good show though. Either way, congratulations again.
Yeah, thank you. That was good fun. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, congratulations indeed. Hope you're ready to see what you'll be going against in the semifinals. But for now, you go relax, let the nerves wear off, because my lord, that adrenaline must have been pumping when that gap got into within a second. And we can't wait to see what you do next week.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks, guys. And well done to Fishtail and Macabre. Awesome race. Awesome podium.
Bravo, Blind Man. Good job.
Now moving on over to our victor for week 3, the one, the only Grove Street Racing's own La Cabra 809. La Cabra, how are you, sir?
Yeah, just good. Delighted with the result.
So we saw it as like the rain was coming down and you were doing your medium run. Blind Man was getting very, very close to you, to the point where one wrong move in the chicane would have had this interview order looking a little different. Were you kind of hoping to have a nice head-to-head with Blind Man again, or were you just more focused on trying to keep him off and securing the race victory?
I don't think I can expect like a blowout, like win over Blindman. Like it happened the first race, but like I feel like it was a combination of a lot of things. But this race, I was expecting the race to finish how we did.
All right. Well, I'm glad it was able to work out in your favor. Slomo?
Yeah, what an exciting race to watch. I couldn't help but notice that only you and Sugar Shuffle started out on the softs. It really looked like that turned out to be a very good strategy for you. Although, as we mentioned, you were getting closed on there at the end. In those last couple laps, were you starting to kind of question yourself and thinking maybe you went the wrong direction with soft first?
No, because there was a risk of starting with the mediums, and if the other drivers started on softs, it could have created an accident. And with the heavy damage, I just didn't feel like taking the risk. Starting with the mediums was the better strategy, but I feel like starting from pole, I had to pick the safe strategy.
Brilliant. Well done. Thanks for the great show, Leo. What do you have for our winner tonight?
Um, Congratulations on the win there, La Cabra. That was a good showing. I mean, you made this track look simple, so I guess my question is, how much time and practice did you put into this place?
I want to say I did probably like between 60 and 70 laps, and
Oof.
yeah, the it
Yeesh.
also helped that I was
Wow.
I practiced with mole as well, so I feel like
Ah,
that allowed to cut off the amount of laps that I needed to do. So
I gotcha. It's always a good
mhm,
time to practice with the goat.
definitely
Omaha.
on my high.
Omaha, Omaha
Omaha
indeed.
indeed.
So, what were some of the areas of focus Mullet had you like fine tune in your practice to help shave off the amount of laps you needed for practicing?
One of the main thing was the tire preservation. If you guys saw the first thing, my soles were dead on the third lap, but that's because I wanted to get the fastest lap. But on my mediums run, my tires kept dying right before the end of the third lap, and it was because I was coasting a lot, and which was rotating the car, which was helping me get quicker exits. But then, the tires die way too quick, and then I have to do a fourth lap on dead tires, and on the dead tires, I thought I could do it, but that third lap on the sauce was awful. Like zero grip, and the car was too sketchy. I even hit the wall at the end of the first sector. So the tire saving was what saved my win, to be honest, and that's what Mole helped me the most.
Well, it was definitely a very well well done practice and a very hard earned victory here in the damage you wound up sustaining. But regardless, you go relax, celebrate another victory, and we can't wait to see what the semifinals has in store for you. Thank you so much for your time, Lacabra.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, everybody, and congratulations for Blind Men and Deputy. Great race.
Well
Alrighty,
done, buddy.
everybody. While we go and get all of the provisional standings tabulated for all of you, we will take one final intermission. And when we come back, we will have the semifinal details and the provisional standings for Division A when we come back. So stay tuned. Welcome back, everybody. It's been a very action-packed and unprecedented evening for all of us here in the NRL. So let's go and take a look at the provisional standings for Division A after everything has been said and done for the Division A heat. Now, bear in mind that these are also pending steward review, of course, so these are subject to change. In P1 with a grand total of 68 points, we have La Cabra 809. In P2, trailing by 2, still dangerously close, is VTX Blindman GT. Rounding out our top 3 so far for Division A is the True Serum, with Deputy Fishtail in P4, followed by Talon, Gran Turismo, GSR Shaggy Doo, Corridor 71, Sugar Shuffles, Boogity Boogity, MK, Root, Raider, Fernando Button, Sweet Lou Thanos, Sparky, and rounding out our standings for Division A is VTX Chippy. This has been a tight season so far, and it's only gonna get more intense from here, folks. And speaking of that, let's go and take a look at what our drivers are up against for the semifinals of the third season of the NRL, starting with Division B. Our Division B drivers for Friday will be at the illustrious Daytona Road Course for 18 laps in the Dodge Viper SRT GT3R 2015. That is the Group 3 car, folks. There will be a 5-minute qualifying session with a grid start and false start check, and 12 times tire, 5 times fuel. Every single racing tire is available with no requirements. So you drive to your heart's content. This is going to be an amazing one. What do you think, Slow-Mo?
Oh, I cannot wait for this. This is going to be awesome. I can promise you the PHG fam is excited to see this track on the Bs. Any tire, no requirement. That's going to be exciting. We're going to see a variety of different strategies play out during this. And boy, that is going to be a fun race to broadcast.
It's going to be just as much fun for the drivers. What do you think, Leo?
Oh, without a shadow of a doubt. I mean, the PHG loves the Daytona, both the tri-oval and the road course. So I'm expecting that to be a blast with all of them and all the other racers that are there too. It's going to definitely provide a lot of different strategies, though. I wonder if we're going to see another no-stop or not.
Only time will tell, and they'll have plenty of time to practice. Now let's go see what our Division A drivers will be up against for the semifinals. And if that's what Division B is going for, I think Division A is going to have just as much fun as we make our way over to Kyoto Driving Park with Yamagiwa and Miyabi in reverse. They will be in the Mitsubishi Lancer Evolution Final GR3 car with a 5-minute qualifier, 8 times tire wear, 2 times fuel. They'll have every racing tire available to them, and every racing tire will also be required. So it's going to be 1 stint on each, folks. But over 20 laps, I'm sure that they can definitely squeeze in 1 of each, and then some for some more racing action. Who knows? We might see a couple double stints on soft. Only time will tell, but if I'm the Division A drivers, this is definitely going to be a fun one for the most part. And this is the semifinals, so there's going to be a lot of intense action for people wanting to stay in this league to go into the finals. What do you think, Slow-Mo?
Well, yeah, and how interesting. We've got 3 required tire compounds for the A division drivers, so that is going to be a handful for these guys. They're guaranteed they're going to make 2 pit stops, so I would imagine that they'll probably stretch those 2 pit stops over those 20 laps one way or another, but we'll have to see how this evolution does with the tire wear. It is the GR3 car, right? So, for those of you guys who don't know, that is not an all-wheel drive version. That's a rear-wheel drive version, and that could lead to some exciting racing for the guys. Leo, what do you think?
Oh yeah, it definitely will. This GR3 Lancer Evolution Final is a handful to drive. I've tried it before. The tail is very happy on this thing, and especially a tight track like this, and also a very long track from what it looks like. I don't think we've raced here too often, but it is quite fun. So we'll see how it goes.
Regardless, it's Group 3 for Division A and B, so it's more familiar territory for our drivers, and it's going to be just an absolute amazing spectacle to behold for everybody, so please make sure you do not miss it. Round 3 will continue tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern with Flaw Genius Gaming, Rob G, and TK's. For those of you in the Toon fan club, I'm taking the day off. I need it. Rob is going to be filling in, and he's going to do a wonderful job. He's an amazing guy, so be sure to show him and the rest of the Saturday team all of your love and support.
A well-earned day off for you, Tim.
Agreed.
And with that being said, I believe it is time for us to bid you all adieu for the evening. So it's been an eventful night, to say the least. Before we fully get on out of here, Slow-Mo, we'll start with you. If you had to pick a driver of the day, who would it be?
Wow. My driver of the day today is going to be Le Cabra. I really like the way he came out. He was aggressive. He had his strategy down, and he rode with it, brought him back to the podium. And, I was saying this on the break, but I'll say it on air. He's becoming a regular here in the broadcast booth. So I don't know. Hopefully he doesn't have his eye on one of our seats here.
I sure hope not. What do you think, Leo?
Am I allowed to say who I think again? I mean, it's kind of biased, but I'm going to have to pick Papa again.
Is it because of
the no
stopper?
Yes, actually it is. I did not think that was possible, and it defied my thinking. So, I mean, kudos to him for going with it worked.
You know what? That is fair. Papa is definitely finding his footing and showing that he is a formidable driver. I'm torn between him and Talon because Talon did the unthinkable and pulled off a last to first. I think just to cover all bases, I'm going with Talon for my driver of the day. But with all of that said, driver of the day has been decided by each of us. Feel free to let us all know what you think, either in the chat while this broadcast is going, or even after it's gone. Or carry the conversation over to the McNaughty Gaming Discord, !Discord. And until next time, my name is Toon. You can find me over on YouTube and Twitch, where I stream a variety of content. You can find Slow-Mo here on YouTube at GT-Slow-Mo, where he does Gran Turismo content. And you can find Leo over here on YouTube as well at Leo2443. Where he does primarily Gran Turismo with a little bit of a splash of variety content as well. And please be sure to tune in tomorrow for the Saturday set of racing. It's going to be just as amazing as what you saw this evening. So until the semifinals, you all stay safe. It's been an absolute honor to have your company, and we'll see you all in the next one. Bye-bye for now.